There we go.
Merry Christmas.
Like it was a little rusty there, man.
Sorry, Father's Day.
Oh, that's the very happy one. Is what you're saying? It got you so?
It was good.
It got you so? It was. It still is, my man. It was.
Good point. Yeah.
Anyway,
Highlight.
that's good.
Highlight. No.
Indeed. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to another edition of The Living Room with me, Andre, my good friends Mark and Philip. This is your first time you're here on the Be Global platform, whether on Facebook or on YouTube. If you haven't already, hit like and just follow us as well, just so you can be, part of the family and join the community as well. We always ask everyone when they join at the beginning, hit share. I think especially today, y'all gonna want to get as many people in this conversation. So hit share, tag about 10 people, a whole heap of people, and let me just come in and have a good time here with a good Caribbean conversation. How we doing, guys? We had a little break, but we back. I always excited when we first show back after a little break. I missed this thing when I ain't got this to do on Sundays. But anyway, how we doing?
We miss you
Doing
too.
good.
Man.
You miss me? We did so touchy-feely the last show before, but you missed me too, buddy.
There was a lot of love.
I
There
miss
was a
you, man.
lot
You
of
miss
love. A lot of love last show. Wow.
Yeah, man.
I watched that back. I was like, man, we really went to a different
Started
place
to cry
there,
or
man.
something.
Well, it was very touching, It was very, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it was good.
Bring a little tear there, man. So
That
much
was good
love
to
in the
bring
room
up.
there,
Yeah.
you know.
Good week though.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the break was good too. The break was really
The
good, man.
break was good. Good. I had a whole bunch of people here, barbecue and thinking,
Man,
so I had it before.
you got more barbecues these days than anybody, man.
I ain't breaking the rules though. I follow the rules. I follow the rules,
He's like
But yeah,
TGI Monday to Friday.
You gotta live the life, buddy. You gotta live the life.
Yes. Yeah.
I all for living it.
Every time we look around over here, I'm having a barbecue.
Have a barbecue on. Barbecue on.
Yeah.
But we actually didn't even tell one another Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, gentlemen.
Man,
We
yeah,
don't
that's
do
true.
your manners here.
Sorry about
Happy
that.
Father's Day, man.
Have a lovely
My man got proper
Father's Day,
wine there,
fellas.
man. I ain't
Happy
even
Father's
bringing
Day,
in
man.
wine today. I just here with some water.
Have a little
Phil, happy Father's Day, man.
Happy Father's Day to you.
Yeah, normally I got my wine and y'all boys be water. Now I ain't got no wine. Y'all playing you drinking?
I have a collection of drinks today. Actually, have a little ginger wine for the stomach's sake.
Ginger wine.
Ginger wine?
Little water.
So water in case you start
Hydration?
talking gibberish.
And Morby to keep things balanced.
Bobby,
Listen to you. Listen.
whenever you see Phil go off the screen, he's bathroom.
You don't reg wine. You don't reg wine.
What do you man anticipating there, Phil?
I don't understand. The man going for serious washout.
Father's Day wash up, man.
Serious washout, man.
Yes.
Thank you, Avril. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
No problem. So what y'all get to this week, man?
This week was a lot for me, actually. So starting Monday, 18 years married.
Oh yeah. Wait, I gotta raise the glass again. My picture look real good, though. I have to say, man.
Congratulations, buddy.
Shaved up,
18
cleaned
years.
up, went out and everything. Took the kids out with us as well. They're part of that.
Okay.
The 18 years, so.
She look like she took some years off of you, man.
Well said, well said. But yeah, was good. Was, as always, it's good every year to reflect, but there was something about turning 18.
Grown
I
up.
just felt,
Growing
I just
up,
felt
man.
like grown up finally.
Yeah.
Finally we can make our own decisions about what we want to do.
Which is
I guess that's exactly what we do it all like now. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
It was good.
Happy anniversary, man. That's good. I see you got a little badge on there too.
Yep, that was my gift from the doctor for being brave.
Ooh, for being
My,
brave.
Second vaccine,
Ooh, okay. So you're fully vaxxed.
fully vaxxed.
Excellent.
Ready for the world again.
Ready for the world again.
man, that's so fantastic.
So when you get the vaccine, you feel like a little weight lift off the shoulders. How you psychologically it felt like it did something to you apart from the obviously the medical thing.
Not really, because I'm reasonably antisocial anyway. So
reasonable.
Not a lot has really changed. So where everybody calls isolation is what I call everyday living. but yeah,
You're just happy
people
that
that
everybody
happy
else
and
joined the
locked
party.
I like people though. I love people. Honestly, I do.
I believe you. I
Occasionally.
believe you, man.
No, I only ask because I think one of the things that everyone here is being concerned about is that as soon as people get vaccinated, the second time that they feel as if, all right, back out into the world, let me get out there, So I was just wondering, there's a bit of that you feel when you get vaccinated. You almost feel as if, okay, at least you get to this point,
Yeah.
So there's a
Yeah.
little bit of that you feel, as long as you don't go too crazy. But I don't think we got that issue yet.
There's no need for that. No.
Canary Islands for you then this summer, Phil?
You going cruising?
No, I don't think so. That's it. I don't think we can do anything of the norm. I do think we'd like to go back to Germany at some point in time, catch up with friends there, and maybe Northern Ireland. Who
Okay.
knows, Barbados?
You remember any German though?
Yeah, I do. Enough. I think it would take me a while once I got back there. I would still have to sort of work my way back into conversation. But yeah, but still, if I listen to German TV, read a newspaper, it's not a problem to follow.
Come back quick.
Yeah.
Well, this week, this
Go ahead,
week the hair fever was killing me, man.
Oh, yeah, there's
over,
that.
man. Oh my gosh, boy! I tell you, I had some days this week, man. I was like, yo, what going on? Just the watery eyes, the burning in the nose, and
What's our
Can't
remedy
breathe properly.
you started using?
well, I don't like nothing up my nose. So that's one of my issues because I see people talking about nasal spray and thing, but I can't do them things, man.
Not that.
I can't put nothing up my nose at all, boy. No chance. But I just try and get through as
just
best as
bear
I
it.
can. I might take one of the tablets also, but I can't put nothing up my nose, man.
I
Oh
ain't had
yeah.
too bad here fever this year. I just had a little bit this year. One it was sort of grounds in my eyes and stuff. But I put some Vaseline around the eyes, and next morning I was good.
Jeez, bread.
Vaseline on
Vaseline around the eyes. That's just saying
Nice.
that I ain't know if it worked for me, so I can't say if I
But yeah,
don't know if it worked.
it works. I mean, it's stopping the pollen from going in your eyes
Exactly.
and
So I did that.
setting off the allergic reaction.
I did that for a day, and then that was it, right? Anything you
So-
cook up in the kitchen here, Phil?
Well, fancy you should ask.
I set you up, man. Good luck.
Yesterday we just had a taste for roti. And you know my usual thing. Whenever somebody say, I feel like eating roti, I say, let me make it. And that's exactly what I did. Skins and all.
You met
So
these
the
skins?
skins?
Made the skins. That one look a little bit thick, but that
I was gonna say that like break. I like a savage.
But that was because I was in a rush.
Like last one. That's probably
That was the last
They
one.
give you benefit.
This,
Like last
I
one,
would, I
you
would
do it
call
left
it
back.
more a pita sandwich.
Yeah, that was the last one. But a nice little curry with chickpeas and chicken and potatoes and
Alright.
curry and fresh turmeric as well.
Fresh. All
Bit
right,
of ginger, coconut oil. Man, it was good.
So you come out good. I don't expect
Yeah.
you to say anything different anyway, but it come
Yeah,
out
coconut
good.
oil. Of course, man. You don't
we got
use coconut oil in your curry.
We got enough Trinities in the chat that I am sure they know where rotis look right, and they will let us know the verdict on what they think is seeing on their screen. So
Was there any bust up shot though?
It look decent. Let me be honest. It look decent.
And it tastes good. Even the children ate them.
I can tell you, it look like you have to keep
Even-
your seat for about half hour.
I ain't know that door look so heavy there, man. You ain't eating food there. That look heavy, man.
That hold me for a while, man. It hold me.
Obviously,
But that's because
That
it's a
look
close up. It's a close up. That's why
It's a
it's
close.
thick. Yeah,
you
magnified.
you should do a wide angle. You should
Yeah,
do
yeah,
a
yeah.
wide angle. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Next
That's
one.
it.
Next one. It looked good, man. I was
But
still
anyway,
there. Lucy, the kitchen when you come down. Next
rotis to the repertoire.
So when you find the recipe to do the skin, because the skin is,
Let me find
is
it.
the key there, you know.
I found the recipe right here.
you know he make it up, B.
Right
You
here
don't know.
and right here. Remember what I've seen. Remember what I've tasted. remember what I've enjoyed, and I made it. That's
So you
how I
just
work.
make it up.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. I see. I reviewed the Zipmo.
It's good.
You know what I mean? No,
If you cannot cook, if you cannot cook from sight and smell and taste, step out the kitchen.
Hey,
Step out the
Okay.
kitchen, watch TV, put your foot up, do something else. But if you are a cook, you have to be able to see, smell, taste, and reproduce.
I reproduce. All right.
gosh,
That is cooking. That is cooking.
Well, we did say there's no hold bars today. Get in there, Philip, man. Yes.
Yeah, man.
Get in there. I be you. I push you forward.
Are you beating me on the skins?
You want to talk about cooking? You want to talk about cooking? Huh?
The skin here.
Get true. But you've been busy as well. I see you a bit of a writer and stuff. I know we talked about it before, but we haven't really put it up. So we got to do that today.
Yeah, man.
Oh, you mean me again?
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
man.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this, the Dad book is now out. Please get it. And we have-
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It's been, I'm one of the contributors to it. It's 20 dads, all based in the UK, who've contributed to this book and telling us their own personal stories about their experiences of fatherhood. And trust me, is really touching. A lot of these stories are
stuff.
so touching and heartfelt. Must shout out people like Elliot Ray. I don't know if he's listening today. Elliot is the editor, the curator of the stories, and also the director of Music Football Fatherhood online. And today we'll also have Matt joining us. Matt is a great guy. Matt is our social media manager, and really a great personality to have on board. But big news: the Dad
Big
book
news.
has been in the top 10 of Amazon bestsellers. This
Yes,
week.
yeah,
Yeah,
number
Phil.
10 there. It moved up, I think, since then. Didn't it?
It's moved up, especially leading up to Father's Day.
Wow.
And I was chatting with Elliot last night, and he said every time he delivers books to Waterstones or the other book outlets,
You know,
they sold out.
Wow.
Sold out. He started first time they took 7. He said, okay, within a day they were gone. 50 gone. 100 gone. So the book is selling well, and trust me, it's worth it. It really is worth it.
Yeah, no doubt.
So-
no
Well,
doubt.
I'm
it
looking
out.
forward to my copy on Tuesday, man. So
Yeah,
Oh, Raven
yeah,
Tuesday.
yeah.
I'll Raven Tuesday. It'd be great to list, to read and see, some insights.
Get it,
some
man.
insights, man. Yeah,
And
yeah.
any
Fantastic.
Audible coming soon? Audible
That's
book is
in
coming
that's in the working.
in the works.
That's in the works. Yeah.
Good. So
Fantastic.
you can
So look out for that.
So guys, get out there and get this book. It's going to be good. Phil is in there. Look, for the guys who regularly come to our show, y'all know Phil has a way with words. So imagine when you give him time to write them. So that's all I can say.
Oh, and I must say another thing that I didn't recognize until I started reading through the stories and checking out the guys. Quite a few of the authors, not all, are from the West Indian diaspora.
Oh wow,
Indian background.
that's
Okay,
fantastic.
So that's interesting. Last night we did our podcast, and when we started talking, I recognized the other 2 guys that were on, James and Arion. Their parents are Barbadian or Bajan.
Oh wow,
I didn't even know that. Yeah. So James's
Wow.
dad is Bajan and Arion's mom is Bajan.
fantastic.
Right. Oh, look
So-
at that. You need to talk
Look
ten,
a
look
look.
at that.
Look
Look
a
at
look.
Judy boy. Look.
We can go. we can go kind of rebatch how we introducing you now.
Yeah. Author. But all author, top 10 lists, all that kind of stuff,
Find a place for your roti skins.
Don't forget Roti Chef. Roti
Yeah.
Chef.
Hold off on the recipe book. Hold off.
Yeah.
That's coming though. That's gonna be
Hold on.
called seeing is
But the-
reproducing.
But you see, fantastic. The Dad book is a really good opportunity for us to get into the subject, man. I see, people there lining up now because they hear
Of
what,
course.
men
Men
talking. about
talking?
things? Come,
Yeah.
Listen. Maybe. Wait,
Go on, man.
I would tell you something. No, because you know me, I just get myself in trouble with these things that y'all just left me and stand there. And let
No,
me-
man.
Go on,
We
go on.
we pushing you forward. We
Just
pushing.
pushing me forward.
We can either back you up or back you.
But look, my thing is men either sometimes talk a lot amongst themselves, or sometimes we talk a lot but don't necessarily get very deep in what we're talking about. And the reason why we got the heading of, the things, that we don't talk about, and then the things also on what we really want, is that, sometimes the things we don't talk about is actually what we should be talking about. And that should actually tee up what we want and what we need. So we thought, it's Father's Day. We could have done just talk to some fathers and that kind of stuff. But hey, that's us already. We're fathers. So we just thought, let's just have some guys in and have a conversation around the things that we don't talk about and talk about it. And whoever here and listening, we don't know. We can hopefully men just talking. However, we still decide that because we making this no holds barred today, and we talking about any and everything amongst ourselves as men, we decided, the conversation might go in some areas we can need some expertise. So we have urologist Lal Sow from Trinidad, who is in, and he's going to join us. We also have Dr. Adrian Lord, family physician, but he's also done quite a lot of work as well in sports medicine, a lot of different things as well. So he's going to join us as well. And we have Matt Brown from the UK of some Jamaican heritage. We were testing out his credentials earlier, and he's legitimate. So he's in, and he's part of Phil's group as well, part of the guys who wrote the book. And he's just going to come in and we can have a conversation. Now you might say, but normally guys, y'all don't have experts, you're just ordinary people. And then we realize a main conversation. Well, we's the ordinary people, so we can talk to. So that's really the thing there. So that's what we can do. We can have a chat. We're going to talk. It's men talking. It's Father's Day. Once again, to everybody out there, men who listening, happy Father's Day. But we know a lot of ladies there too. Don't go anywhere, because this is for y'all as well. Here, do me a favor. Tag 10 fellas and get them come into this conversation.
This is important.
Hit share and tell your female friends and male friends to come into this conversation right across the Caribbean as well. If you can put a comment
already,
because still ready, as y'all can tell. And let us know where you're from as well. If you put your first comment or your first question, just say your country where you're from, or just put the initials or the flag or what have you as well, so we know. We're going right across the region with this, as we do every single week. So let's bring in Dr. Lord, Dr. Sow, and Matt.
Oh, as you bring them in, I'm going to shout out somebody here, actually. Michelle Renee, who's been watching all of our back catalog on Facebook.
She has been.
Good to see you this evening, Michelle. Welcome.
Indeed.
Matt, you're
hello,
smiling,
everybody.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening.
Happy Father's Day to everyone.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, Doctor.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, I just want to shout out one more person, a guy called Machel, who's also part of Music Football Fatherhood. I invited him to come, and he said sorry, he has to wash his hair. So I think he's watching tonight.
Okay.
While he's having his hair blow dry. So that's all right.
Hey,
that is rejection. That is rejection.
I've never had that
just
problem.
jealous, right? You're just jealous.
He has good hair. He does.
Fantastic. That's great, man. So
before we
gentlemen,
get into it directly, Mark, I just wanted to give Dr. Sow the opportunity to let us know how is Trinidad and how things are going at the moment, because I know you're still on this emergency, state of emergency and what's not.
Well, we are pretty much locked down, Andre.
oh wow.
In fact, today we have one of those all-day lockdown from 10 a.m. to 5 the next morning, which is Monday morning. And this is an attempt to curb the spread of this horrible virus that is really taking toll on our people. We have a lot of cases, we have a lot of deaths, right across the board, from young people to older people. So we're not doing too well, unfortunately, although the government is trying to curb this. But we are really in a bad state now with our population. They're trying to vaccinate, but they're not vaccinating fast enough. But the virus is really raging like a bull out there. Really bad.
Wow.
Yeah, we really hope everything in Trinidad gets better sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Following that,
Yeah, it's really, really, really sad to hear, because we love all of our Caribbean people, and we have a lot of people from Trinidad who follow this show every week. So guys, please stay safe. We've been going through this collectively now for almost 18 months. It's hard. It's a big test, but stay safe and look after yourselves and your family. It's really important.
Indeed.
But fellas, on the other hand, in Barbados, we're about to ease a little bit.
I saw that yesterday.
The gas pedal being pressed a little bit harder. But the brakes could come on anytime, and the reverse could happen if we don't be careful. So our curfew is going to stop the end of this month, June 30th. So no curfew at all. We're going to allow some parties and functions with 150 persons or more. Even if persons coming into Barbados from certain Caribbean countries are not going to be subjected now to the testing that they have at present, you know. So they created a little bubble and hoping that everything, but we have the variant here, you know, the Delta variant is here. So we have to be very careful. They've had about 3 cases of the Delta variant here. So we still have to be cautious and wear a mask and keep our distances. As the Trinidad say, wash your hands, wear your mask, and watch your distance. So we still have to do that. And of course, just like Philip, don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Vaccinate.
Indeed.
Oh, I never heard that one. Vaccinate.
Showing some skills now.
Throw some
Praise the
beats
Lord.
behind that. Throw some beats behind that.
Wow. So look, Adrian, I mean, perhaps that's a good place to start, actually. What have you seen in men in particular over the last 18 months as you've been observing? Let's start there. What have you been seeing?
Well, I've been watching the figures climb. We had, as you know, the big climb in December and so on. But if you look at the total figures of cases in Barbados, we see that there is a percentage of men which is greater than the women. Actually, it's not too bad. It's 51.6% of the cases are men. 48, obviously, 0.4 are women. 51 men, 51.6 men, 48.4% women. And you may wonder why we're getting more men than women. Initially, we were getting the breakdown of the persons who were being vaccinated as men and women. We're not getting that now, but we're getting the impression that the women are going out and getting their jabs, or as in Philip's case, he's got 2 now, so he got a jab. But the men are probably not going as much. A big debate is happening in Barbados as in the Caribbean and throughout the world now about mandatory vaccination. That is, you know, we're hearing you can't mandate. Some people say you can mandate. But, you know, some tourists coming into the country, we're trying to balance lives versus livelihood. And we opening to tourism. We had our first cruise liner. Yeah, the Celebrity. Although 2 of the persons, I thought it was a totally vaccinated ship, but 2 persons did get the virus. Obviously, they were safe and no other contacts occurred, but we are trying to balance everything. And some people are demanding is that if we are coming to Barbados, we want to make sure your staff is fully vaccinated. But there's pressures from the Hotel Association, from the labor unions and so on, as to whether you can mandate this. The people on one hand are saying we have a right for a safe environment, to provide a safe environment, and that includes vaccination. On the other hand, they say you can't do it. So there is this debate going on where we have to make people are making decisions, and they're, as I said, people are hesitating because they say the vaccines don't stop you from getting COVID-19. It does. It stops you from getting severe COVID-19.
Severe symptoms. Yeah.
Severe symptoms, and stops you from dying in the majority of cases. And it stops you from transmitting it as well in a percentage of cases. It even stops you from getting the variants in a high percentage of cases. So that is the debate. And talking about men, we don't know the statistics here as far as men and women, as far as the vaccines are concerned, but we are seeing more men have been tested positive for COVID-19 in Barbados.
Okay. Well, in my work, I always say, don't let the data replace the conversation, right? So what are the conversations that you're having with men about being vaccinated, about testing positive, and about their sort of approach to this season of COVID? What's interesting in the conversation with men?
Some men feel that it wouldn't bother them, that if they do get it, it is mild, they will recover. I even spoke to one male who had COVID-19 a few months ago, and he doesn't want the vaccine because he says, that was nothing. I
drink enough bush tea. I good.
I didn't have any symptoms. So,
Yeah.
the statistics are there. And you say don't let the statistics replace anything else. But the statistics are there that 47 persons have died from COVID-19 in Barbados. However, on the ground, I have been speaking to persons through my WhatsApp videos, which Andre gets.
Yes.
I'm also speaking to every patient that I come in contact to see if they have any issues with the vaccine. And then I try to debunk any myths that they may have and leave the decision to them as to what they want to do and when they want to do, where they want to go. I know that, it has not been easy, as Lal will tell you, to get the vaccines. You have to sign up, and the people who have problems with sign up online. But, you have to have a friend who's somebody in a polyclinic to tell somebody, or a friend who's going to get a vaccine, say, well, you come along. And that is what worked initially. Now everything is by appointment. But everybody might not have the cell phone, or might not want to use the cell phone or the WhatsApp to make the appointment. So you need to get to the problem. But on the ground, I'm finding that the younger people are not interested in the vaccines.
Okay.
Interesting.
The younger men.
Interesting point.
Okay.
All right. Well, look, Matt. Hearing all that, what's the
Speaking of younger men,
what were you hearing? What's in the psyche of the men who were the contributors to the Dad Book and dealing with the last 18 months? What have they been talking about?
A lot of it is just trying to deal with the adjustment of life, because for them, parenthood was very different pre-COVID as it is during COVID. Because ultimately, a lot of them, depending on their situation, was pretty much go out, work, graft, do what you got to do to provide for the family, maybe do the school drop off in the morning, maybe pick them up or see them before they go to bed. But now, a lot of them, not everyone clearly, have had the opportunity to spend more time with their families, spend more time with their kids, and it's been great. It sounds really sad, but I've been absolutely happy for them, because I took shared parental leave with my son, so I spent about 7 months with him when he was born. And it's not really like the done thing, because the man looks after the family, whatever. I don't care. I want to spend time with my son. I want to build that bond. Yes. And if an opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take it with both hands, especially if my wife and I agree on it. So happy days, I got that done. But the fact the pandemic happened, as awful and as horrible as it is, I looked for the silver lining in it, and one of them was the fact that people got to spend more time with their families and they probably wouldn't previously have the opportunity to do so. And one of my good friends, Kala, who's also part of MFF, one of the things he mentioned was the fact that because he had to do a career change, the career he was doing before, which was in West End Theatre, he was clocking up mad hours, so he probably wouldn't see his children until the weekend, if even that. Yeah. And now he knows his kids. Like before, he thought he knew them, but now he's watching them develop their own personality, express themselves, be creative. And it's kind of like the days when you first met your partner and you was infatuated with them and you wanted to know them and you wanted to spend that time with them and you was fascinated by everything you learned together. And it's kind of like falling in love with your kids again. It's like, I'm so happy that people have had this opportunity, that are fortunate to have that be in that position. Yes, my heart breaks when I'm hearing about what's happened in the West Indies and stuff like that. And even here, it breaks, and it's all relative to your situation, who's running the country and whatnot. But as much as things are terrible and horrible, there's got to be a win somewhere. It can't all just be negative. If there is a shadow, there's got to be a light source presenting itself somewhere. We just got to shift our positioning to see that light source and hold on to that, because
so this is interesting, right? So it's interesting to hear you talk and say this, because there will sometimes be a narrative that men are interested in that kind of stuff, right? Like, you know me, I get straight in. There's be a narrative that men aren't interested in that, and we feel better when we out the house to go and work because we hunter gatherer and all this kind of stuff, but the looking after the child and knowing your children is all stuff for the touchy feely stuff that mother does. But men, we ain't interested in that. But you're there saying something completely different, which is something that I agree with, by the way. But it's interesting to hear you express it and hear men express it, because very often the narrative is a very different one. And for whatever reason, we allow it to happen. We allow the narrative to continue.
I was going to add there.
Change it though, isn't it?
Yeah.
How?
Go ahead.
I was going to add there, Matt, in the dad book, chapter 1. So we have a guy called James Cook who's written about the birth of Generation COVID. I'll just read something that he wrote. As soon as we caught minor rumblings of the coronavirus outbreak in the news during the early months of 2020, we started to get an idea that the pregnancy and birthing process may be a little different this time around. We had the 12-week scan that February, back when COVID-19 still felt like some exotic illness you might catch if you traveled to Asia. I thought, so while you were saying that men generally don't talk about these things, but there are things we have to talk about. And one is simple things like the birthing process. And coronavirus presented some real complications for men and partners being together, even at the hospital, to witness the birth of their child. There's just so many things that it's affected.
So question then, were you guys there at the birth?
Yeah.
And did it impact you in any way? How was it?
Beautiful.
Well, I can surely tell you how mine has impacted me, because our first son was born at 31 weeks, and that was so unexpected. I was driving my wife to work one morning, and she said, "I don't feel very well. You know, our Caribbean women need some tea, right? It is air and all that."
As you speaking, Mark, it just struck me. We know each other for years, and I know sort of that story, but I never heard you tell it.
Really?
I've never sat down with you and asked you to tell me that story. So go on.
Well, let me praise it for you, right? So Kyle was born at 31 weeks, and Sonia was on our way to work that morning, and we had a son in the evening, totally unexpected, totally unprepared, and I just didn't know what to do. I was there. He was in hospital from July all the way through to August, and those are the things that you don't realize how they hit you as a father. Totally unexpected, emotionally shocking, and you just don't know how to respond. And in truth, you don't know who to run to in those cases. Even when you've got a male network of friends, you don't know who to run to. But on the flip side,
that's true.
The women just pile in, right? The women pile in and support.
But then wouldn't that be telling? Because Philip just admitted that he never asked you that question.
It's true.
Like, he didn't know that. So as close as you guys are, it's evident that I can't speak for others, but I know there's times where I might know rumblings of things going on, but I won't feel in the position to be able to eloquently ask the question without coming across insensitive. Whereas a lot of women assume that if I'm going to say something, it's coming from a good place, where guys are like, my guy's got it, I'm going to leave him to it. If he wants help, he can holler. But, for instance, if you see a guy, not saying that we're all mechanics, but if this guy is fixing his car, you're not going to run and offer help. You're going to say, my guy's got it. If he needs a wrench, he's going to holler. But a woman's like, no, let me go help you. All right, cool.
Cook some food and carry on. Practical things as well.
But it is different for everyone else. And I know I'm a very emotional person to a degree. And I've got no shame in that whatsoever. But I try to be able to articulate my emotions, because it makes no sense to me hiding them. Because if I'm feeling them, I'd like to think there's going to be a wave of people out there that also feel them and need to express them. And there are a lot of things that are toxic out there from all aspects. And it's a matter of, why should I allow that to continue? Why not challenge the narrative? If it's a bit like, things like voting, getting the vaccine, all this other stuff. They're big things to some people, not so big things to other people. But the fact that my family did what they did to give me the opportunity I've got, I can't take that lightly. So if I don't know what people have done to champion shared parental leave, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to take it and spend time with my family. I just think some people may not be at that place mentally, physically, financially, whatever you want to call it, to be able to stand up and challenge the status quo. Because if you're around the wrong type of people, you won't want to do it. Like, sorry to keep alluding back to it, but it is a good source of reference. Will in the book, who got bullied at work because he had a child. And with all due respect, we pretty much know if you're in a working environment and a woman is pregnant, they're pretty much invincible. You can't touch them because they're carrying life, and you want to make sure they're okay. And that's the right thing to do. But the men, unfortunately, are fair game. You can attack us. You can say what you want to us, make our life hard. And we can't say that because we're not the one carrying a child. So he's then had a child, but they still expect him to work every hour under the sun. So he's seeing little to no time to his children. And that hurts. So if you're being made to feel that way at work, in your social groups, who do you talk to? Who have you might not even have a social network that can support you because they're one expecting you to be a certain way.
Yeah, I mean,
Will's story is chapter 11.
Well, it's a societal thing, right? Because it kind of, society tells you to, just grin and bear it, get through it. He's a man, so was your problem, as you say, man, you're anybody who carried a child, so was your issue. But isn't that, again, one of the constructs that you have, which is man is out there working, woman is home, looking after the children. That's a societal thing that get into everyone's head. Now, this is interesting. How do men break down that?
Is it only societal, or is it sometimes that it is practical?
What you say is practical?
Question.
There are just sometimes when it is practical to some extent. Maybe in our...
No, you got to explain practical. What do you mean practical? Because women are better at looking after children?
I'm getting there. I am getting there, Andre.
You got to get... Well, you know me. Hurry up and get there. I want to understand what you say.
I said sometimes it could be practical. And that could, especially in the early stages, when it comes to breast milk, for example, for the very early stages, it's a practical thing. And I guess depends on the range of come back to me a little later.
Exactly.
I have a framework in mind.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. But Dr. Sal, let me bring you in here, because these things that we're talking about is obviously things that could affect men's mental health, which could also then lead to other issues as well. What do you see walking into your office generally, and what men not talking about, but what they need to talk about?
Well, the big thing in my practice would be erectile dysfunction. A topic that is very taboo, because as far as the trainee man goes, don't mess with his manhood, because he didn't have a problem there. So I do have a problem. And as I said many times before, he will come to the office and he'll be accompanied by his girlfriend or wife or whoever. And, you start the conversation and say, "Hey, hi, sir, what can I do for you?" And he look very angry at you and say, "Ask she bring me in here. I don't know why I'm here." That's how it starts. I don't know. We have very macho people. Not a single man in this country, Trinidad and Tobago, has an erectile dysfunction problem. So you need to convince them, or they need to convince you that they will talk eventually. So getting it out of them is very, very difficult.
Wow.
And the women are very good at gently teasing it out of the men. I mean, sometimes there's so much foreplay in the office there before the man starts, getting to the point. Admission is the problem,
You have a way with words, man.
And let them go ahead, and the little argument will take place, a little quarrel. In that time, you kind of look at your record, the amount of patients you have to see, and kind of figure out what you're going to do with them in the coming. Because you leave them to fight. You can't just cut them on the conversation. Eventually, they come to the senses. Then the guy will say, "I think I have a small problem, but really she." I say, "Okay, fine. Well, let's deal with you first, and we'll deal with she later on, And that means when he starts to feel, well, I don't really have a big problem. The doctor himself said, we'll deal with it. Let's deal with it. And then he will start opening up. But the funniest thing is that if at the end of the conversation, at the end of the first consultation, they're leaving the office, well, he's a nice gentleman. He opens the door, and the minute she walks out the door, he pulls in the door and says, "Yeah, but really have a big problem there, you know." So he tells me right away, "I want you to know I need help, but I don't want you to know, right?" But the fact that she already knew, that's why you're here.
But I would think so. By now she know. How she know already?
But he want to make sure I get a right message that he has a problem. But he do not want to admit that in front of she. And you know, another dimension now that's really causing a havoc here. I don't know whether, maybe Adrian, you've seen this. Some guys in the University of Miami, May 27th, who are doing prosthetics. Prosthetics is when they implant artificial devices in the penis when it won't stand up on its own. And they produced a paper saying that they found 2 patients who've had COVID infection. And in fact, they were treating them for erectile dysfunction. And they found the COVID viral particles in the penile tissue.
Yes.
Now, that is scary. And in fact, numbers are small. There are only 2 so far, but people, of course, are looking and searching. And I am seeing much more men than I normally will see in a pandemic, in a lockdown situation, come in with an erectile dysfunction. Now, that's multifactorial.
Right.
There's the business of depression, there's the business of being home, there's all sorts of other factors that weigh in. But that knowledge that has gotten out there that the COVID virus can get into the penile tissue and damages the erectile mechanism, if that is investigated as it has been done, and that comes out to be a fact of life or a fact of penile function, we men are in trouble if we get COVID infection. And that's more reason, Adrian, for us encouraging our men to get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. I mean, if the one thing you want to protect is your manhood. As I said, the numbers are small, but you know, it's like a warning bell. You hear a warning signal, you don't ignore it. You don't say, I'm going to wait for the next bell to ring. You take action. And I'm sure the research within the next few months will show more and more numbers affected by the viral particles getting into the penile erectile tissue. That's cause for concern.
Wow. And when you say get in the tissue, is it unlikely to be anywhere else, or I just want to know what's specific about finding it in the tissue if it's not given to be in the middle of a pandemic, if that's not a normal thing.
Sure. No, you remember people who die, sometimes they find the particles will go into the kidney, the brain, the liver. It finds its way into the organs, and sometimes the death is multifactorial, organ failure. Not necessarily respiratory alone. The respiratory might be the last call, but it gets into tissues. But who would have imagined that this idiotic virus will go find its way into the penile tissue? But it seems that it can get, it's very microscopic, it gets into any tissue, but it does damage when it gets into the penile tissue.
Yeah, because I just assumed all the deaths were respiratory.
Well, they wouldn't die from the penis, but you know,
Some men might.
the penis might die, but not they. But, yeah.
But the penis is an organ too, so
Right, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
it's
That's
organ
what.
failure.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I understand it from what you're saying.
Yeah, it causes the cytokine storm and release of all these interleukins and a lot of stuff. And this causes this reaction to occur. So it's not surprising that occurs, but erectile dysfunction is a big problem. I use the opportunity when I see men to ask them about erectile dysfunction because something may be diabetic. And we know diabetes affects the arteries, affects the nerves, and Lal will tell you how an erection occurs, but they're also hypertensive and they may be on medication to treat the blood pressure that may cause erectile dysfunction. I remember I worked in Carriacou in 1970, was 70, whatever, 82, 98, sorry, wrong.
Whoa,
87,
from
1987.
70s, 80s.
1987, sorry.
Okay.
There's a COVID. Oh, yeah. So 1987, and you know that was after the Grenada intervention, and a lot of the Cuban doctors had left. So Barbados, we sent doctors to Grenada and family doctors to Gary Kouai was the only doctor on the island, which was a quite interesting experience. We could talk about some other time. But we had limited medication. And this guy who was a customs officer said, I will prefer to die first than to take that medication that you gave me, doc, that will cause me to have erectile dysfunction.
Okay.
And we didn't have much alternatives. It was a beta blocker, and it caused him to have erectile dysfunction. He didn't talk about all the alcohol he was also drinking. That's the other thing that can cause erectile failure here.
Oops, Adrian is kind of stuck there. But on this same subject, Dr. Sow, then, apart COVID aside, and since we hear very early in the conversation, when we're talking about penile health, what are some of the things that men should be doing, looking out for, thinking about, and ways to take care of themselves?
Several things. One of the enemies of penile good health is alcohol, excessive alcohol. Alcohol in moderation is fine, but excessive alcohol drops your testosterone, which is one of the big players in the erectile process. Excessive alcohol. Of course, diabetes, as Adrian has pointed out, is a big trouble in our part of the world. So they got to control the diabetes early o'clock, and really, really rigidly so. Sleep. We only make male testosterone hormone when we sleep at night. It's a what they call a circadian rhythm. If you wake all night and sleep all day, you make little or no testosterone. So that goes to the guys who want to go on the internet and hang out there for all night. You need to get your 8, but generally the recommendation is 6 to 8 hours sleep. As the older you get, the nearer you go to the 8 hour. At night, good deep REM sleep, which means deep sleep, not cat napping. And that's when you make testosterone. Remember, the body is the greatest economist. Huh? The last function that is subserved in the human body is erection. Flight, fear, and the other reactions come first because that's to save the species. Erection is the last thing preserved, and that's why our hormone is only made when we sleep at night. In other words, when the other body functions can take a rest. So we now deal with the low down the pecking order then, and the testosterone is made then. So good night rest, watch the alcohol, control the diabetes, and Adrian already hinted, these beta blockers and these medicines which are used to treat hypertension do in fact all across the board cause erectile dysfunction. But you have to take your medicine. If your blood pressure goes up, you die from a stroke or a heart attack. So you're not in a good place with hypertension, but you can compensate. So these are the commonest things that we see causing our problems here in men. And now, of course, at yet, we don't know where this COVID going to take our men beyond this.
Again, it may be early from now. I hear so. Don't call me after 9:30. I tell them when I know.
I was saying the same thing.
After 9:30, don't call me, message me. I am my day.
You need to boost your testosterone. B?
I looking forward. I looking ahead. I preserving where I go.
So listen, let me go back to the fella that was brought to the office there, Dr. Sow, because thinking about the health and what you've just said, really important advice. But there's something that really, really makes me wonder, what is it that actually stops us from having the conversation? What's in the psyche of the man that he feels so ashamed to talk about it?
One word, pride. Pride. You remember, we are not only the collectors of the food, like in the old cavemen. We're the one who make the babies. We're the one who produces sperm. We're the one who have to make it happen. So it's pride. And the failure of a man to perform, with his partner is really a very, very with a man. And unless he has a very cooperative wife who's willing to help him through this, he can be in a real, depressed state of affair. So it's pride. It's pride.
I was thinking as well, we might say the psyche of the man, but I think it's very understandable. If I had a condition like that, and I'm not a really proud, boastful sort of character, but I would have a lot of thoughts about discussing it with Mark and Andrea, Matt. Furthermore, I might be more comfortable discussing it with a doctor. But I'm also trying to think of, are there things that we could do within the health service itself that would make that conversation maybe a lot more empathetic towards the fact that this is a big deal for man to be without his upright function.
Yeah, Philip, you would have these public lectures sponsored by these service clubs, and you go there and give the lecture. When you look at the audience, the majority of people in the audience are ladies, the wives and the girlfriend, not the men. Are very few men, because in their mindset, this ain't gonna trouble me. So why am I gonna hear about this for? This is not my problem. In fact, one of the few men who attended one of my lectures very, very honestly got up one day and said, "Listen, I want to give you a hint. You shouldn't be having this conversation and lecture here in this hall.
Yeah.
You should go to the rum shops and talk to them where they are there, and they'll buy you a drink as well." So, in other words, the rum shop is a big social gathering place, like the pubs back in the UK where you guys are. The rum shop is a big place for men to meet in this country and have conversations. But come to a lecture on men's health, it's very difficult to get them to come out.
But it's similar. I think it's kind of similar to how people look at things in the day. I remember back in the day, or even now today, if you hold something on, say, HIV, sometimes people have in their mind, well, to turn up is to therefore make people think I have HIV, therefore I am not going. And you're wondering if men have the same mindset.
You're quite correct. You're quite correct.
Of that. To go to that lecture, other people are going to see me, women going to see me and think I have a problem. And then I rather not.
Andrew, you're correct. In fact, I recall now in a couple of lectures where I've given, and they're men, they always, somebody will be the joker in the crowd and say, "Hey, I didn't know you had a problem as well." This is what you're saying. You've identified that you have a problem, hence the reason why you have come to the lecture. Not that you want to get information or you want to learn something about your human body, your body.
Or preempt it.
Once you're there, you have to have a vested interest to be there. Therefore, I know what's happening with you. And in our country, they joke, "Hey, guy, you're a PhD." What do you mean by PhD? Your penis hanging dead. That's the conversation. There's some crazy guys in this country, though. A PhD. Yeah, be careful with that, Andrew.
Yeah.
Philip better watch out with all this writing. You better not get a PhD.
So don't be out too late, Philip. Get in your bed. Get in your bed.
You spend all that money and you get a PhD at the end of it.
What's that, man?
You spend all that money just to get a PhD at the end of it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. But
Wow.
so maybe a question that probably I never. So tell me. You say you need some sleep, and avoid alcohol, that kind of stuff as well. And Adrian, you can jump in as well. I mean, but maybe Dr. Sal might be the one to take it initially. How does the penis actually work?
Well, I sent my penis for Philip. Was it Philip or Mark?
No, hold on. I gotta give it a go. Not your penis.
You don't know.
Of it.
You don't.
You still have yours.
Whichever penis. Sorry,
We also have
Let's
ours.
give it. Let's give it a big introduction.
And here you can see the structure of the penis. My pointer won't work there. Will it? Yes, it can. Now, it starts in the brain. An erection starts in the brain and conducts the telephone messages, if you want to call them that, down our spinal cord. Eventually, they come to the gates around the penile area here, and a lot of chemistry takes place there. In fact, would you guys believe part of the chemical reaction that takes place when you get a signal to get an erection, we actually produce a gas. No, we don't end up with a smoking penis, but the gas produced is called nitric oxide. We get nitric oxide. But
You're gonna have to say where you are because we can't see your pointer on the screen.
Yeah.
You can see it on your
okay.
screen. So
All right, I was saying, when they send to the penile area, to the base of the penis there, the chemical reactions that take place there, to put it simply, cause an issuance of a gas. As I said, your penis don't smoke, but the gas is called nitric oxide. And that is part and parcel of the erectile process. And if you look at the penis there in the cut section, it'll be to my left. You see those little blood vessels, like little roads there, like little pathways? That's where the blood comes down from the main blood vessels supplying the penis. The blood comes down there when the floodgates are open. And that is modulated by gatekeepers and a variety of chemicals, which I won't confuse you with. That blood comes down there. And if you look at the other image, you see the spongy tissue in the penis. This is when you cut the penis down the center. You can see it, that spongy tissue there. So think of it as a kitchen sponge. And the water comes in there, the sponge will, of course, expand.
Expand,
And that's
yeah.
what an erection is all about, expansion of the spongy tissue by blood. So an erection is a bloody process. When the penis goes flaccid, that same blood is squeezed out of the sponge and gets back into our circulation. So it's really a manipulation of our blood flow in and out of the penis that causes the rigidity. And the extent of the rigidity depends very much on the degree of hardness created by blood flooding in. So the more blood you have coming in and staying long in the penis, the better is your quality of erection. And that's why you have all these aids that trap the blood in the penis for longer periods of time. But getting back to COVID, that bug, the particles were found in those blood vessels you're seeing there. You see the little kind of highways into the penis, and also the spongy tissue. So if you want to destroy the penile erectile apparatus, where best to do it? Damage the roadway and damage the sponge. That's exactly where they found the COVID particles. And that is worrisome. That is worrisome. So that's essentially a summary of
Are those the two main sort of damages that cause erectile dysfunction? Damage to the...
One is vascular, and I didn't mention the nerve endings. Because the nerve endings are part of the fire process. And that's where diabetes damages, as Adrian said a while ago, damages the nerve ending. So it's a lot of things that interplay. Getting an erection is a hard job, you know. I mean, I'm no pun intended, but there's a lot of chemistry that takes place. There's a lot of flow dynamics that takes place, and of course, over the overlay of this whole thing is the nerve impulses. And if your nerves are damaged with diabetes, you can see exactly why diabetics have a major challenge with that. And this whole business of erection was only worked out recently when Viagra came on the marketplace and they tried to figure out why it worked. And only now we have common sense of what exactly causes an erection. In the older days, a man coming with erectile dysfunction, the first thing you do is discount him. Whether it's psychological. That no longer is the prime cause of erectile dysfunction. In fact, it's a minimal cause because we can now investigate and find underlying causes which we can hopefully treat.
The psychological... Go on, Matt.
I just want to ask a question because I wanted to just find out, because hearing all what I'm hearing, which is very valid, because like I've had a prostate exam maybe 3 times and I'm not even 40 yet, so I've got no shame in doing it. Like for me, health is wealth. I'm happy to put myself out there to find out what's going on if I've got suspicion. But it sounds like a lot of the reasons why people potentially are not willing to be open is other than pride and the fact there's a lack of safe spaces for people to talk, that society seems to make you feel embarrassed when it comes to educating yourself. It makes you feel that because I want to educate myself, I'm a laughing stock, I'm a nerd, I'm a this, I'm a what. And it's like, if school or whatever education system I'm part of has not provided me the information that I'm lacking, I'm going to take it upon myself to learn more. Oh, but you've got it. No, I just want to learn what the symptoms are so that if you may have the symptoms, I can tell you about it and direct you accordingly. There's no harm in it. And you find amongst women, there isn't as much shame, potentially, if they're educated in things about their bodies. It's very much welcomed in terms of, you know, have you done your breast checks? Have you done this? Like, I don't know many men, like even in the MFF group, with all due respect, I love them to bits. They're my brothers in arms, but we don't hold conversations like, have you checked your testicles? Even though that should be a general conversation, because worst thing we want to hear is that someone turn around and say to you, boy, do you know what? I've got a big C. You don't want to hear that conversation. But if you're saying, guys, just go and check yourselves, make sure it's all good down there, it's a 2-minute job, if even that. So I just think that we need, as a society, we need to look, sort of encourage and celebrate those that are willing to learn, because they're not just willing to learn for themselves, they're willing to learn to the wider audience, to help protect us when we're too prideful to go to the doctor, to the GP, to the hospital. They're willing to at least signpost what we're meant to be doing or what we're meant to be looking out for, and not Google it and find out that it's complete wrong diagnosis we're giving ourselves, but at least tell us the right way. That's personally how I'm seeing it, and I could be completely wrong, but that's my take on it.
It's a fantastic point. And you know, when I listen to what women talk about in terms of going for their pap smears or having their breasts done, these things are spoken about openly. You know, I can have a group of women in this house and they could be talking about that, and I might be in the background. They're just talking. They don't really care. But beyond pride, though, do we think there is a fear factor with men when it comes to the examinations, the medication? Is there a fear factor that we have that kind of gets in the way to leaning into these conversations or taking whatever treatment is necessary?
Yeah, there's a fear in there.
Definitely. There's a big fear factor. Men fear going to the doctor, period. Men go to the doctor when they have no choice. It is the last resort. Or as Laz said, when they're taken to the doctor by a female or someone else. I looked at a study called Mention It out of Cleveland. And they said that 72% of the men there in that study rather do household chores than to go to the doctor.
Well,
You imagine that? 65% would avoid going to the doctor as long as possible. And going down the line, 20% of the men who actually do go to the doctor are not honest with themselves when they go to the doctor. So there's a fear of vulnerability. Going to the doctor is a fear. You're weak. So you shouldn't go. And we wait until things get worse, and then the diagnosis is made, usually too late, because there's Dr. Google that they can use and come up to the wrong diagnosis most times.
Google is frightening you. Yeah, I don't do this Google thing. Google, when you do the Google thing, you think you can dead next week.
dead tomorrow, boy.
I don't do this Google thing at all.
There's the fear, there's the delays, and there's the denials that occur. It's something else. It's a gas, like Mark's wife. It's gas. It's something else. I will never forget the situation. A guy who lived opposite the hospital had chest pain for a long time and was using all gassing. By the time he got to accident emergency, that was too late because he thought it was something else. So there's a fear, and the fear of things down there. As Dr. Saw said, I never knew this. I never got referred to erections as a bloody thing. I thought menstruation was, but elections is a bloody thing. Erection, sorry, is a bloody thing. So I have to use that. An examination of a man is by a man or by a woman. Actually, some men now prefer to go to female doctors because they say that their hands are smaller.
I can't go to a man doctor to get examined. You crazy?
I ain't going to the man. Next thing,
No, man.
when you see the man look like Thanos. I like, no.
You gave it out there?
A prostate examination takes less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can determine the size, shape of the prostate, whether it's tender. You check for any lumps that may be there. You check for hemorrhoids, which may be in the rectum or anal canal. You check the color of the stool. You check for anal tears. How many things I've mentioned there so far? About 8 or 10.
Yeah.
In that thing, and by looking at the color of the stool, we can tell you if you have bleeding higher up or even stomach cancer if I'm doing a prostate examination. But still, we hesitate to go and have that invasion of your privacy.
So I gotta admit, I've never had a prostate exam in that way, but this year is my year, so I will be getting one this year.
Well, I could give you some stories, again, Caribbean men. We talk about the fingers there, Adrian. I have men say, Doc, put up your right hand, let me see which finger you're going to use there. Now, I use my index finger because this is my most sensitive finger. In fact, if you look at my index finger on my right hand, I can't show you on the camera. And you compare it to my index finger on the left hand. My right hand index finger is worn down, it's gone down. I'm not kidding you. I've lost my pulse. I've done so many thousands of rectal exams. It's actually going down.
Right.
You're
So
feeling
the
it.
first guy will tell you, the first thing says,
No, do you know what? It's the fact it's the used finger he's given me. I want a fresh finger.
sometimes they tell you, Doc, can you use your small finger? My small finger is not a custom feeling of prostate. I need to get my sensitive finger to feel it. Or they give you the story. Doc, let me tell you something. You see down there is a one-way street.
One-way traffic, man.
Yeah. Or they tell you the story. I don't want to have that because I might get to like it. You know, that's another one.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Lord.
I'm amazed at this
Hey,
conversation.
doctor, a bit to the left, a bit to the right.
Oh, no.
Incredible.
When a guy say you like a second opinion, you know what? This guy is funny. This guy is funny. But of course, when you practice, Adrian will tell you cannot laugh because this is serious business.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this rectal on a guy, and I talk to them, so I relax them like Adrian, I'm sure does. And he's responding to me, yes, Dr. Spock, no, Dr. Spock. I said, why you call me Dr. Spock? You know my name. He said, Doc, you have gone where no man has gone before. That's a theme song from You've gone where no man has gone before. That's Dr. Spock. Sure, I forgot the name of it.
So
they give you 100 reasons why they're not going to have a rectal. They want a blood test. And Adrian going to hold me, bear me out on this. The blood test is not adequate. Adrian just alluded to how much information he can get, can be gleaned from a finger. They want a blood test. The blood test is not accurate. In fact, the blood test has a lot of errors in it. So the combination of the blood test and the finger is important, especially Caribbean men have one of the highest per capita incidences of prostate cancer in the world, gentlemen. And they won't check their prostates.
We need
and if you get
nurses.
prostate cancer quickly enough, it is treatable as well.
It's curable. It's curable.
To 101.6 per 100,000 cases of prostate cancer in the Caribbean. 101.6 per 100,000. That's a high dose. And by the way, I just want to let the viewers recognize that when we do the prostate examination, we use the finger, but it's a gloved finger.
Yes. The glove is important.
You just clean it.
Oh, God.
And the glove is disposable.
Wrong finger.
I just want to ask a quick question there with that statistic about the Caribbean incidence of prostate cancer. What are some of the factors? Is there something genetic or diet or something else?
Comorbidities.
You hit on two of the most important things. Unfortunately, prostate cancer is extremely common among African men. There's a variation and mutation in the genes of African men that predispose the man to getting prostate cancer. In fact, if your father and your grandfather had it, you're going to get it.
Oh, wow.
If your brother has it, you have a high chance of getting it. There's strong genetic factors involved here. That's one. Two, there's a few papers that tend to suggest that people who eat a lot of red meat, the big steak eaters, etc., increase the risk of prostate cancer. And men who are vegetarians, and you have to be a vegetarian from young, not from by the time you reach 45, 50. And those who use a lot of vegetables seems to have a lower incidence of prostate cancer. So lifestyle important, but genetic factor overrules who's going to get it. That's why the Chinese have a low incidence, very low incidence. But the African males, especially in the Caribbean, have one of the highest incidences. In fact, Tobago, I did a paper recently on all the Caribbean islands looking at the numbers, and Tobago has the highest incidence of prostate cancer per capita, higher than even African continents, the whole African continent. We have a problem, a real problem. And part of the problem is that men will not go for their examination early enough to be first to make the diagnosis and make a difference. I mean, today I do a particular type of surgery for prostate cancer on Sundays. And today were men who picked it up early because they were very educated men. So they knew about it and they came forward. And I can't guarantee, but I could be pretty certain that those two gentlemen will be cured of their prostate cancer.
Wow.
Because we got it early and we were able to treat it very effectively by a fairly minimally invasive procedure.
From what age do you start getting that procedure done?
Good question. If you have a strong family history, start at 40. If you don't have a family history, you can get away with 45. Although that's no hard and fast rule. People in their late 30s have gotten it. But to be practical, 40 if you have a family history, or 45 if you don't have a family history. But it is very important that there's an annual test that should be done, both the finger and the blood test, the PSA test.
You know,
Costs money out
when
in
I
the
see
West
when I
Indies.
see people with sorry, Matt, when I see people with who may have suggestions of prostate cancer based on the digital rectal examination and the PSA test, and I refer them to the urologist. You know, they get scared when they hear the word possible cancer. But I personally believe that very few people should really die from prostate cancer. I think prostate cancer is a good cancer to get. You heard that? Prostate
Interesting.
cancer is a good cancer to get because something that can be treatable and curable, detected early, treated and cured, and you can go on to live a good life thereafter.
And when you say curable, that's a surgical procedure, right? For
Surgically
the
curable.
and once you have
Even people who are in the older age group that you may not do surgery, they may use medical therapy or you may call it chemotherapy. They can live a good life thereafter,
okay.
unlike many other cancers.
And if you're cured once, what's the likelihood of it recurring?
It depends on your age and stage, really. But if you're cured, one of the best cures is to remove the prostate. If you have prostate cancer is limited to the prostate and you remove the prostate, then there's no prostate cancer. Prior to the surgery, we do various tests, CAT scans, bone scans, sometimes even MRIs, to see if there's any evidence of spread. We do various blood tests to see if there's any suggestion of any spread. And therefore, you scoop out this thing. Dr. Saul mentioned there's minimally invasive methods now, which that's what it says, minimally invasive methods that you can use now to remove the prostate. I mean, you can go home the next day.
Well,
But no, so when, prostate. Now, when a man hear prostate and I hear prostate, you tell me remove my prostate. So my next question is, when you remove my prostate, could I still function?
we need my function.
This surgery is done where you spare the nerves. It's called a nerve sparing operation. You can do that and save the nerves behind. But you will need a little help to get those nerves back into firepower. You remember the construction of the male anatomy leaves a little, the cables that conduct the erectile nerve function, they're situated on the capsule of the prostate. And maybe Philip, you can show my prostate, which I sent you this morning, by the way. My prostate is on your chart there, so your viewers can have an idea where the prostate is. Yeah. Again, I can't point it out, but the prostate is like a necklace. It hangs from the neck of the bladder. The top brown structure is the bladder, is brown urine, unfortunately. And the prostate is that chestnut-looking like structure. You can see both lobes, right and left. And that track in the middle there with a little bump in it, that bump is the verumontanum or the valve. That's the urinary passageway. So you see the urine actually traverses the prostate tissue on its way out. You can work out your symptoms easily. But I want to stress, by the time you get symptoms of prostate cancer, it's generally too late. And that's why you need to do, like the women, go for your pap smear, go for your breast exam, go for your rectal exam. But as you can see, because of the unique location of the prostate, once it enlarges or any malady affects it, it's going to impact on the highway of urine passing through in the middle there. So you have urinary problems, flow problems. It grows up to the bladder upstairs. You're going to irritate the bladder and have bladder problems. So the problems that the patient will have or present themselves to the doctor could be from enlargement or cancer. But by and large, if he comes to you with symptoms, generally that cancer is already gone upstream into the bladder or into the urethra. And that makes it very, very difficult to cure because it would already have gone to other organs like the lymph nodes and the bones, which are the favorite sites of prostate cancer.
Got it.
And in fact, if you imagine the rectum right behind that prostate there, you can see how easy it is for the examining finger to hit the prostate. The first organ as you put your finger in the rectum is the prostate. The rectum is not shown there, but just imagine the rectum is just behind that organ there. As soon as you put your finger, you feel the prostate. You can't do it yourself. You'll have to be a good acrobat to do a self-examination. My wife would like to see you doing it in the bedroom. It's such an easy exam.
So listen, I hear all that, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, what do I need to do to prepare myself mentally? Because I think we're committing to doing this journey this year, right, fellas? I think.
I in.
We in?
My daughter
We
let
in.
me video it. I can video it too, and I can bring the evidence.
So, but
You ain't gonna go that far.
you hold it. You hold it.
No, man.
Bring a
Seriously.
certificate. Bring a certificate. That's fine.
But this is how men encourage men. Seriously, I really think talking to other men and seeing someone who's going through it, like even listening to Matt there saying, he's been through it, that make me go, just here, never met Matt before, go, okay. Not the ads on TV. Sometimes even listening to doctors speak, men go, you talking because you's a doctor. Because, we put y'all on this pedestal and thinking y'all know everything, but not talking to the common man. That's just the way how our minds work. But so I think it's important to say, I have been through the journey. Of course, I would make the video tasteful. Don't get me wrong. I ain't putting a video of all that stuff. But
I've had mine done once as well, but I need to go back, definitely.
so this year, we Global Living Room, my year.
The
Hold me
example.
true.
And make it annually, please.
So tell me,
agree.
I still want to know, how do we best prepare? Because to me, I think there's a mental block that comes into this space as a man when you start journeying towards this area of health in your life. Give me some advice.
Go with your wife.
Oh,
Let your wife go with you. First thing.
Sometimes the wives make fun of their husband and said, "Now is your turn, and make sure you don't like it too much, because you will have to leave me and get another fellow or something." Yeah. But listen, you have to remember what Adrian just said. It's the difference between life and death. You get in that process cancer early, and your Caribbean heritage. You're men from Caribbean. Your risks are higher than the Caucasian man from UK. So you need to accept the fact that you are in a high risk category, and the little you can do is to get it checked. And if you unfortunately pick it up, you can have it adequately dealt with and cured if you catch it early. So Mark, there's no need to make up a mindset for it. You go get it done.
Does riding bicycles, the way how you sit, posture, anything like that, cause any issues in your testicles, prostate, anything like that?
That's an excellent question. Very good question. In fact, when you sit on these bicycle saddles, the saddle impacts straight into your prostate. Now, they have had no evidence to show that it increases the risk of cancer of the prostate, but it does increase the risk of prostatitis, which is an inflammatory condition. So much so now that the new saddles are designed differently. If you guys are cyclists, the new saddles have a big hole in the middle of the saddle. So when you sit on it, your bottom literally herniates through the hole. So you don't put the pressure on the prostate. So the cycle manufacturers have recognized this and changed the design. So if you're doing a lot of cycling as an exercise or as a hobby or whatever, you need to invest in a good saddle.
wow.
That's good to know. And what
Let me
about?
say, right?
Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Because I'm not a doctor, clearly, I'm going to talk from an everyday man point of view.
Yeah. Talk everyday, man. That's why we're here, man.
I get the whole fear factor in trying to get your head in the right headspace to go doctors, but the reality is, for me, there's got to be a compromise. It's either I compromise on my fear and back down and go doctors, or I have my pride and then forego my health potentially, because the doctor's only going to tell me what I need to hear. They get no bonus or brownie points for killing off patients. They ain't part of their job.
Indeed.
They want to keep us on the books because some might be private, some might be nationalized, whatever the situation is. So if I say I love my family, I love my life, why would I not go and get checked up? Why is it? And this is a question I often ask myself when I look at society. I think, why is it people buy these big, expensive cars, and before they go on these journeys, they'll get their car MOT and service. But when it comes to their self, they don't get enough sleep. They don't eat proper. They don't do what they need to do. They don't go to the GP to get their MOT. They don't go GP to get service, but they're happy to spend big money on these vehicles and these, materialistic things, but don't check themselves. And that's the thing that kind of is alien to me. But I know that what is a person going to do? They get zero benefits out of it other than doing their job. They're the ones that are equipped to know it. Yes, I might look at the two doctors in here and think, oh my gosh, you guys are more knowledgeable than me. But you might come to my field of work and then look to me for advice and guidance based on what I know. So it's a mutual respect thing. So I'm going to respect you're going to do me 100, and I'll reciprocate that when you come to my world. So I understand it, but you'd want your partner, whether it be male or female, to go and get checked up because you want them to be around as long as possible. So why not do the same thing for them by getting yourself checked up? And the good thing about having your partner go with you, because let's be honest, some of us will stay still and be like, oh, what's wrong? I need a lozenge, please. And they'll be like, he's got this wrong, that wrong, that wrong. He peed for like 3 minutes all straight, and it was all turned all different colors. And you need that sometimes. You need someone just to out your business, just start the conversation going, because you might not know your GP like that, but they want to know you like that because they can only help you if you're honest with them.
I just want to comment on that because I was thinking of what you said there, Mark, about the headspace. I remember when I did go for that one prostate exam many years ago, I must admit, so I need to go back. Before it was part of our health insurance at work, so everybody had to go, and it was optional. And I remember one guy came back and said, "Philip, be careful. The doctor will threaten to stick his finger up your bum." I said, but that's a prostate exam, and that's fine. But what I had in my mind was, this is I don't have a relationship with the doctor. We're not friends. That's a real function. That's a functional relationship. You know, there's nothing else besides he's performing the function of checking to make sure that I'm okay and giving me advice, giving me a diagnosis. And I think that's where we have to look at it. That, you know, though the doctor might have a good bedside manner and be friendly, especially in that moment, don't treat the doctor as your friend. Treat them
don't look in the eye.
Yeah, well, you can't. It's actually physically impossible to do that. But treat the doctor as a professional who's there to diagnose you.
Agreed. So let me turn this on its head for a second. Now, not living room ladies that watching, because I know y'all are very supportive to y'all men. However, I'm sure as well, Dr. Sow and Adrian, y'all would have seen women who are not that supportive to their men when they have these issues. Speak to the women for a second, and how can they support their men mentally, emotionally, if they're going through issues, whether it be prostate, erectile dysfunction, that kind of stuff. Because we find it hard to talk about it amongst ourselves to our doctors. So Lord help me if the woman is not supportive at home.
Yeah, you need a supportive and understanding partner. You're saying partners are women, but you got to remember
yes,
partner. Right?
Yes, partner. True.
Right. So you need to have a supportive and understanding partner who will be there with you as you go through whatever problem there is. Because having a woman who says that you're wasting my time, get up, go along about your business. That
can't keep it up. Don't bother.
Yeah. That makes it more psychological. It may be functional, it may be real, but it makes it more difficult to correct if you have to correct the problem for whatever means, and it delays the whole recovery process. So if the relationship is not going well, if that person doesn't understand, sometimes the women accuse the men of having another woman. That's why they're not getting an erection with her, or may think that is not as attractive. So that also comes into the thing. So you need to have an understanding person. As the person needs to come to the doctor. It'd be good if they come to the doctor, and whether the urologist or the family physician, the clinic, whatever. And I know it's difficult now because of the COVID-19 restrictions that we have, but we have teleconferencing, which is available now. So we can even utilize that, even if one person is in the office and you could speak to the other one remotely to discuss the problems, or a telephone call before, or send a list, a note to the doctor to help to discuss this problem, because the men sometimes find it difficult to bring it up. So you need that emotional support there, and a progress report, how things have been going. Sometimes we may have to use some additives, some other things to assist the men in getting up. And I don't know if Lal gets this, but sometimes when we use some of those drugs that would assist in, say, erections, sometimes we find that they use it once or twice and everything works good. So it just need a jump start, so to speak, to get back up, to know that the thing's still working, the engine's still working.
Yes.
And then we realize that it's not really as bad as we think it is. You need that support. You need that understanding. You need somebody to explain to the person, because you think that the car tires are flat and maybe the carburetor that is the problem. So you need to explain what's really going on with the body, so that you could better appreciate what's going on, and therefore the treatment, so to speak, or the management would be easier.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, Adrian. Let me get this right. You see, the jump start you're talking about, right? That's a very good point, because sometimes a man loses his confidence in the bedroom.
Confidence.
And if you can show him with a medication or whatever, hey, the apparatus is still working. That's why he tried out, because hey, wait, this thing is working. Why am I using these medication? But you see, men, it works both ways. And men could be very secretive. Sometimes they don't want to discuss this with the wife. They don't want the wives to know they have a problem. I've had some sticky situation as a doctor, as a urologist. You would prescribe the medication, and of course, the safest place to keep the medication is in your car pocket, because the wife has her own car, so she ain't borrowing your car. I had a situation where the wife unfortunately borrowed the husband's car, opened the car pocket, and pulled out a pack of Viagra. And of course, see my name as a prescribing doctor there. So you can imagine what happened to me.
You aiding and abetting.
Aiding and abetting, correct. How dare you get my husband this, and you're encouraging him to go to, and she calls the lady name, etc. And I get 2 airfuls, not even 1 airful. But a guy will not, confide while he was prescribed this. Take the medicine to the bedroom, but no, he doesn't want that in the bedroom. Leave it in the car pocket, and it was fine. So it depends. The men have to confide in their wives. It's a two-tiered system. It has to be cooperation on both sides. If you're doing it on the sly or secretly, it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire.
This is interesting.
Well, that there's an interesting parallel there actually about self-esteem and how we as men sometimes respond when things happen that we don't quite know how to react, and it can damage our self-esteem. How do you think we ought to be encouraging ourselves or encouraging one another to raise the bar when it comes to our self-esteem?
I think the best way to answer that is, if you have a supportive partner, and you have a problem, you deal with it as a duo, not by yourself, and you don't feel that you're less impressive in their esteem, because the person is there to help you along to solve the problem. But if a man is battling this by himself, whether it's prostate cancer, erectile dysfunction, or whatever, it's going to be hard for a man. It's going to be hard for anybody.
But hold on a second. Because whilst we might be discussing this in a very isolated way, one subject, we know that we can be dealing with this on one hand. You might be dealing with some stress from work. On the other hand, you might be dealing with some children that you potentially can't understand how to navigate. All of that comes together.
Sure.
So it is not a singular thing in terms of self-esteem. It's how you deal with that whole collective. And that is when, men can really struggle with the weight and the burden.
I hear you. You're quite correct. And remember, we will glean from the office based on what you tell us, and what we assess the situation to be. We don't know what's happening in the background in your workplace or in your extramarital life or whatever. We don't have any ideas of that. So yeah, you're right. There's a compounding of factors. But men really listen. The one's health is one's own responsibility. The doctor is merely there to help you along.
Yeah.
And until we start to accept that it's our responsibility to look after our health, we are going to be in a bad place. You can't expect that your wife or your doctor are going to take responsibility. You are one responsible for your own health or lack thereof. It's a personal responsibility. And women are far easier to accept that dictum than a man is. And why? Big question. Why?
Big question. So let me carry the conversation in a slightly different way, but I think a lot of things come back to this at some point in time, especially for men. Let me be honest. A lot of stuff that's come back to this. One of the things that men don't talk a lot about as well is this whole thing of, I don't want to use the word hierarchy because that's not the word. Roles in relationships, especially male, female. Now, Matt, I don't know if you guys talk about a lot in the football group and stuff, but do you hear men having any issues at all with women earning more money than them?
No, because I'm in that same situation myself. My wife earns more than I do. Got no shame in it. It is what it is. But to some people, it can be an issue. But I guess it's dependent on your upbringing, what you hold value on, who you're trying to impress. There's a whole multitude of things that take place in one's life that dictates what they hold on a pedestal. And I have had to do a lot of challenging through my life, to my own detriment with my grandparents in the past. But it's the fact of I like to challenge the narrative and understand why I'm doing things and what's the benefit. And I just see it is that if people are going to do something, that's absolutely fine. But just ask yourself the question as to why you're doing it. You're not stupid. You're intelligent. Just use that brain of yours and just challenge it. If you're doing X and you've got another situation that's very similar to it, why are you treating it differently? Why are you approaching that situation differently? If you have a child and he's a male child, he gets with a female and she earns more money, are you going to say to him, son, you're less of a human being because she earns more than you? Why not? You'll respect him regardless. And if he's happy and they're happy and it works for them, so be it. So then why then are you looking at yourself in the mirror and saying you're less of a man because you can't hold it down like that? You don't know what the dynamics is. You don't know what the job is that they're doing. It's all about, if you're going to get married, in my head, it's like taking a vow seriously and for better and for worse. Like when the door's locked, and this is quite bad actually, because I remember saying this to my wife. I said, like, the long and short of it is, like, we've been together, not married as long, but we've been together 20 years next month, right? So I've always said to her, I said, end of the day, right, if the doors have to be locked and we can't leave the house, I'm happy to be shacked up with you. That's literally how I treated it. Little did I know, coronavirus coming around 2020, and that was going to be the thing.
Real test. Are you still happy? That's a question.
I mean, and people say they're a god out there. Like, my guy's got jokes, but I'm there, and I'm in that situation, and thankfully, yeah, it's been tested. I'm not gonna lie, but it's there. And the fact of the matter is, our dynamics allows for her to earn the money she earns, and me to earn what I earn. Which frees me up to do other stuff, and it just works. But if you're in a relationship where you're forcing the issue, it's just not going to work. And that's what I think a lot of people need to be mindful of, because sometimes the reason why things, and this is my personal opinion, take it or leave it.
It's just us here.
Don't
worry about it.
It's the fact of when you try and force things, that's when things just don't seem to click. It's like driving a manual car and you're not putting the clutch all the way down. You ain't putting that extra effort in just to put it down, and the gears start grinding. But you force it in. It's like that feeling that it's just horrible. But why force it? You might try and buy a house. You're in a chain. You're in one house. You go to buy a next house, and because you're forcing it along, you don't look at the survey properly. Next, you buy a house with subsidence in it. Don't force it. Just let things come naturally. Let everything just lay where it needs to lay. Compromise what you need to compromise on, but don't force it. Don't rush it. If you are in a position where you feel like things are overwhelming you, let's say, because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, just take a step back, because no one's really watching you anyway. You're just in your head. Just put your ducks in order. If you've got concerns, go talk to your GP. If you've got a concern, go talk to your missus. If you can't talk to, you're eventually going to talk to someone that's going to signpost you to someone who can ultimately help or stitch this all together and say, this is where it is. What's the problem? You've got a multitude of problems.
So let me challenge that. Not challenge. I agree with you. But that sounds like over time, men have moved to this position and it works. And maybe people in the audience can help me out here. But when I listen to people talk and see stuff going on in social media and that kind of stuff, it feels to me, now that position, Matt, in 2021, fantastic, great, works fine. Go back 50 years, you was a rare minority and everybody looking at you going, what nonsense you talking? You's a man. You should be owning more than your wife. Get out there and wear, otherwise you aren't doing the business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that's interesting.
I still think sometimes, as much as men may have shifted their mindset in this view, in this area, I still think a lot of times women still think the same way as far as what a man should be doing. That's my view on when I listen to conversations out there.
But this is a question I've always had, and it's a matter of women, and I'll probably get shot up for this. I don't care at the moment.
Man, listen,
But
it's just we
I've
here.
got-
Don't worry about it. It's just we.
No. I can see the comments.
Don't look at the comments. Don't watch the comments.
Don't look at the comments. Stay focused
No, it's
here.
fine.
Look at them after.
Don't let them get you. Stay here. I don't look at the comments till we
I'm
finish.
fine,
Stay here.
I'm fine. But it's about, I've said multiple times, right? Because I've had women, especially my missus, like, I'll call her out on this, right? She said in the past, like, you're my boyfriend, you're meant to do X. You're my fiance, you're meant to do Y. You're my husband, you're meant to do Z, right? No.
Good.
I'm not going to say to her, you're in the kitchen, make me a sandwich.
Listen.
You know, I wouldn't go there because I wouldn't be here to talk to you. But the reality is that a lot of females are happy to say that there's this unwritten rule book that you're meant to do certain things in certain situations, but then you can't reverse the tables on them. You and I've got a very bad habit. I say bad because people don't like it all the time, but of comparing situations to one another. I like analogies. And I look at it and think, right, you mentioned about so many years ago, men weren't able to do that. That's not a conversation we have. But going back so many years ago, racism was a lot more ripe than it is today. So if we expect that to move on, we need to also move along. We need to fight for equality across the board because unfortunately, as much as some men are about being the protector, the provider, because it's in their DNA and stuff like that, there's some women that kind of have that trait more so than they do the motherly, nurturing side of it, and vice versa. And I think it's about knowing what your personalities, your personal traits are, nurturing them and accepting them. If you find someone that complements your personality, your traits, or whatever else, work with them. Don't fight it and get with someone else just to make someone else happy, and it ultimately it doesn't work out because you might bring a child into a relationship and it just ruins things.
So I asked that question to bring some convergence into what Mark was saying, along with what Adrian and Dr. So sees as well, because I know we talked, Dr. So, about the psychological versus the actual physiological, the medical side of erectile dysfunction and what's not. But as Mark was saying, men can sometimes be dealing with a lot of things in our head. A lot of things.
Yep.
And I think this aspect is actually one of those things about men being the one who's at the forefront, who's out there working, providing, protecting, all that kind of stuff. And many, when it comes down to the basic level, being the one who is earning more when it comes down to that sometimes. And I think sometimes mentally we have moved on in our thinking in many areas where that is concerned, as Matt just demonstrated. But personally, I still think sometimes when I listen to the conversation, as much as women move on with women's rights and what's not, rightfully so, in that specific area, I still think there's a bit of old-fashioned thinking in what a man's place in a relationship should be, and there's a lot of pressure that's put on men to do that, and where sometimes that isn't happening, that's when you see some of these other things overflowing where men.
I want to challenge one of the words we looked at there, and Matt called that word equality. I like to go beyond equality and talk about unity, right? And there's a real subtle difference between equality and unity, right? Unity gives you the space to come together and figure out as a unit what it is that we are about, what it is that we're doing together. So I think with Nicole and I as well, when we first started, I was the only one working and she was at home. So she was doing most of the cooking and that sort of stuff. Now in our circumstance, she works. I work at home because of coronavirus and so on. And y'all know I could cook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good. All right. So I'm now in a situation where I do most of the cooking. Well, all the cooking. Essentially all the cooking every day. It started off as, all right, Philip will cook on Fridays. And then it turned into cook for the weekends. And then Sundays was part of that weekend. And then since I was cooking on Sundays, cooking enough for Monday. Right? So that so many days is that gone already? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you got 3 days left. Might as well cook the other 3 days too.
I hope you don't make roti every day.
No.
They bung without skins.
Your poor wife will have to eat out.
No, roti is too much work. But all I'm saying is it's really about having conversation within your unit and figuring out how do we operate in unity? And equality is more a more global thing that we're after, that everyone's treated fairly, regardless of their gender and so on. But unity is what you're after in a relationship. I think that you're acting with a unified purpose and figuring out, okay, you're earning more, that's good for us.
Yes.
You're allowed to travel and do different things, that's good for us. You can cook roti, that's good for us. That sort of stuff.
I with you on that, and that is 100% right in what you're saying. I still contend that out there's still that issue, and as I say, it's men talking. So we don't necessarily gotta feel it. We gotta fix it. Let me be open and say there's an issue. To me, I still, when I listen to guys talk,
there
and I
is,
see
there definitely
stuff,
is.
That's still an issue.
It definitely is, because there's a difference between, Mark used the word self-esteem. I think we have to figure out what's the difference between pride and confidence, right? Because there's a difference between those two things. Because it's good to have confidence, but if that confidence gets transmuted into pride, where it stops you from acting rationally, because that's what pride is. Pride is almost an irrational confidence, so to speak. It goes beyond confidence, and that's where we as men have to be a bit more self-aware of what we doing with our confidence. Is it crossing over into pride?
Would you there? I just thought to write out there, because it comes right back to some of the stuff we've been talking about earlier. But one of those things that, yes, men talk about some of this or don't talk about, but is impacting the way how we are viewing things, and sometimes.
What are the signs that you see that's still the case?
I just following social media and that kind of stuff. I see a lot of people talking about it. You see different threads of people talking about whether or not men earning more and women earning less and all that kind of stuff should be, and how people react within those relationships. I just read a lot cross section and stuff and just follow different threads and listen. And I can see that sometimes it's still a bit of an issue in that while we have moved on in many areas, that sometimes there's still a little bit of the quote unquote status quo that is preferred by some.
But the problem is that when you're watching social media, the algorithm will feed whatever you It's not just willy-nilly stuff that, sorry to use willy, but no, not just willy-nilly stuff that coming up in my algorithm. It's groups that I'm actually part of that I'm watching conversations. So it's not just something coming up in my feed and I going, let's go down a rabbit hole. No, it's just really listening to people in different groups that I belong to and listening to them talk. So I just thought one of them things. Listen, the whole point of the conversation today is that we could talk about anything, right? That's one of those things.
I think, I don't know. I think it comes down to the unit, as Phil said there. I think it comes down to the unit. Every relationship will set their own parameters and determine, what works for them. I think something that was mentioned in the comment there by Didi, if I make $10 and you make $5, we have 15, and that works, And I think in the modern contemporary relationship, that feels more of the position, even though you've got to often grapple with the legacy of the roles that might have existed once upon a time. That, in fairness to what you are saying, depending on the circumstance that we face, we get thrown completely back into that because that might suit the scenario in front of us, right? So let me bring something else to the conversation around men's mental health, because I think Dr. Sau, you mentioned earlier about depression, and this was one of the areas around erectile dysfunction, not to go completely back there, but the whole area of mental health again seems to be one that we as men don't deal with very effectively. Men don't talk, right? We will bottle and bottle and bottle. We ain't talking. How do we need to get over that barrier?
Well, men are not going to go to the head shrinker at all. Sending a man to a psychiatrist is like telling him go to jail.
Wow.
They're not going to accept that at all. So Adrian will have more experience than I would in this area as a general practitioner. He will do a lot of counseling to the men and, try to get across to them and create a rapport. In my field, unfortunately, my contact with the patients are pretty straightforward. assess, diagnose, deal with it, treat it, cure it, and let them go their way. Each one will have a long-standing relationship and a better rapport with the men to deal with depression and to coax them in. Because in my experience, and I've tried this a couple of times when I recognize that the patient has a mental issue and not a physical issue, try to refer them to the psychiatrist, forget it.
Wow.
They think that you are nuts yourself to do that. So as I said, Adrian might be the better one, in the better position to help them with the mental issues. I'm not sure whether the Barbadian man maybe is willing to go to a psychiatrist, but definitely not a Trini man at all. Not at all.
Yeah, the men, correct. Men are hesitant to seek help when they need help. They would. I think somebody mentioned that they bottle it up, but they bottle it up by drinking some alcohol. They find the bottles. And there again, let's look at the situation with COVID-19 and the shutdowns and lockdowns and curfews. At one stage, we and probably Trinidad right now, you were not able to get out. You were housebound. You were working from home. You were in a situation where there was domestic violence even occurring, but that's another issue. But you were getting situations where men were not able to get out to be with the boys. They can't go and play a game. Can't go, be it cricket, football, golf, basketball, whatever. So they can't let off the steam that they have.
Which is important.
It's very important. It's very important. So that builds up, and in addition with the financial impact of COVID-19 on the family and on him in particular, where he may have been in the hospitality industry, where chefs working for a lot of money a month now not working, and now depending on the wife to bring in the income, and she's working for less money or had to take a cut in salary in order to get the job. And it can be depressing him, not on, like Philip now having to cook 7 days a week instead of being out there doing what he would love to do better. Not that he doesn't want to do it, but it's a change of roles. And therefore they present with depression. And we've had our incidences of suicide and attempted suicide here in Barbados. The psychiatrists have seen that since this COVID-19 situation is occurring, but it is a problem that we need to face, and we need to recognize the signals that may be occurring in the family, in the males who need that help, but they're not willing to come forward and ask for help because they are ashamed. There's fear. And don't tell them about the psychiatrist either, or try to put them on any antidepressive drugs either, because that is not what they want. They want the easier way out. They want to get back to a normal life if possible. But there are other factors. The stressors, if they're working, the working environment may be a problem. So it is a problem that we need to keep our eyes open and watch and look at our friends, our family, our neighbors, and help them to help themselves.
I think it's a real challenge. Again, I refer to the dad book. There's a chapter in there, chapter 17, which is my boy Elliot talking about his journey with post-traumatic
stress disorder.
PTSD. Yes, PTSD, and that was after a very rough birth with his child, with his daughter. And he wrote an article that appeared in the BBC. And when you see the amount of trolls that sort of said things like, man up. There were even women in that thread that said, imagine if you were the one pushing the baby out. Man up. Man up.
So of course, him pushing, there should be nothing wrong with him.
Absolutely. And if you read his story, it was a really traumatic experience of almost losing his daughter and his wife, in that series. And sometimes I mean, why shouldn't we take that seriously? Why shouldn't we expect a man or woman to suffer traumatically from an experience like that? And that's where we need to get to in society, that that is an expectation. It's an abnormal, and it's an anomaly, but it's an expectation if you go through something like that you're going to suffer seriously from it.
But you see what you just do there, Philip? I agree with you 100%, right? But again, this comes back to, you always hear me talk all the time. But you see what you did just now when you say, how would you expect a man or a woman? So you went straight away to kind of balance that conversation. But the fact is, they expect men to deal with it. Let me be honest and open and say that.
Yeah.
Because if that was a woman having that conversation about losing her husband,
it was clear. It
would be a million times supportive, and
that
you
as an
would probably
emotional
get nothing or no one
You're right.
saying,
You're
woman
right.
up and deal with it. How many women out there dealing with a whole bunch of different things?
You're very right.
So I feel and that's why I think it's important that we be honest. That's why I asked the question about pay and stuff, because we can get all philosophical about these things, but sometimes it's a real thing that men are going through with the way how they are viewed as well when they're dealing with traumatic stuff that are impacting them. And it's going to impact them differently. But they're being told, no, deal with it because you don't have to do X. You know what I mean? And Elliot's story, I mean, his story is amazing. But who would actually look at that and say to him to manner? And that's because why they view him somehow differently when it comes to looking at the sexes.
Yeah.
And that's an issue, again, coming back to one of the things that Mark was saying before and Dr. Asau was saying that he sees, is that men dealing with so many different things that it impacts them in many different ways. And one of the things as well to say is, on top of that, go to the doctor and find out there's something wrong with you. Nah, I good. I strong. Let me move on. So, and I think someone said it before, is pride. I think, well, yes, it is pride. I think there's a lot more behind it than just pride. With men not wanting to go to the doctor and find out what's wrong, even though we should.
One of your viewers just texts there and says, the point you were making, this is conversations back there, this is generational. I just looking at you guys, except for Matt, all you guys look like you're near 40, except Matt looks like 20.
Ooh, me near 50.
I know you like that, Matt. I know you love that.
Just to put things in perspective.
But the younger woman deals with the issues that we are discussing here very differently. Yeah? The younger women are very, very, very more proactive. I'll give you a little story. This doesn't say that all young women like this. In my field, I also deal with subfertility, men who have trouble fathering children. So the women go to the gynecologist, and when the gynecologist finds that they're fine, they send them in to have a check by me. This particular guy had no sperms. Unfortunately, he had mumps when he was young. He lost his sperms. So we do all the tests, and then I came up to the conclusion this guy can never father a child. Now, this is a young couple. Rather than wait for them to spend a lot more money by going to other doctors, I thought I'll have a conversation with them. So brought in the two of them and we discuss it. And I showed them the science, and I said, listen, there's no way this gentleman can have a child because, unfortunately, his testicles are azoospermic, Adrian. He lost the ability to produce sperms from moms. You guys should either love and endear yourselves to each other or adopt, whichever you prefer, but do not waste money. Starting up in life, don't waste money going to other doctors. You're wasting your money.
Wow.
So the young lady looked at me straight in my face. Now, this is the classic case of Beauty and the Beast. Young lady in this case being the beauty. But I could look at her because she's not my patient. I can't look at my patient. Very pretty girl. She looked at me straight in my eye, but I was very daft. Probably still am. Doctor, is there nothing you can do about this? I said, no, I just told you. Doctor, is there nothing you can do about this? And she kept going like this, and I still doesn't take the hint. So eventually she gave up on me. She must say, that's a dud. So she goes away. Months after, I get a phone call from her, crying on the phone. She says to me, Dr. Asau, I wanted a child so badly. You told my husband he cannot have a child. I'm pregnant. He's coming there with a cutlass. A cutlass is what they call machete. And you need to explain to him how you could tell the man he can't have a child and I'm pregnant. So you should be sorry for what you have said. I don't know where this inspiration came to me. And it just came to me. I said, who should be sorry, me or you? There was silence. There was silence.
Wow.
And she started to cry. She said, Dr. Asau, I wanted a child very badly. And the neighbor was very willing to accommodate me. So she got pregnant for the neighbor.
Gosh.
Right?
Wow.
This is a young lady who was determined. She has a good career. The husband has a good job. She wants a child. And if this guy is not going to father a child, she's going to get a child. In other words, very intelligent young lady, very proactive, and he said, I'm going to fix this.
Hard.
Fortunately, I didn't see the husband nor the girl thereafter. I'm not sure what happened to do with him. But that's the young people. Young people these days take matters in their hands. We are brought up in the old school of being listening and analyzing and then reacting. Young people these days fix it. They want quick satisfaction, instant gratification. They want it fixed now, and they'll go about and get it fixed. So I don't know whether your audience here are going to be 40 plus or younger, but I think the conversation might be a little different for a younger age group if you have a younger clientele listening to you.
But to me, what I hear that the younger people may not be as patient.
Correct. They want instant gratification. Yeah.
But again, speaking in terms of men now, this is something young men now got to deal with and navigate.
Therefore, they'll have more reason to get depressed now.
Exactly. Exactly. So
we're
again,
probably safer. We're probably safer than those young guys.
Yeah, we have sons. We have sons to think about as well.
Yeah.
This is
True
true.
for this.
This same generation.
Matt, you're muted. You got something to say?
Sorry, I said the older generation probably said the same thing about this generation.
Probably.
Could be. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting to know. It's just interesting to hear how again, I'm glad we had this conversation and we chatting and stuff because I think it's important for men to talk and for women to hear what men are thinking about and what we are going through as well. Because I think, as you said, Dr. So, and as you said as well, Adrian, Dr. Lord, is that very often by the time they're coming to you, sometimes it's too late. As you said, sometimes the symptoms mean you're too late. Sometimes you might have seen the signs before, but then you come now when nothing is really working or happening, and by then it's too late. But I think it's really important that we all talk. Now, someone asked earlier, Dr. So, if there's some men who come with erectile dysfunction, but they're happy with it, and they're just telling the other half, hey, you got to deal with it. This is me.
No. They wouldn't have come to me in the first place if they're happy with it. They want to get it fixed. I don't think no man in his right sense would be happy with erectile dysfunction if he has a wife who is, still sexually active. How are you going to deal with that? Yeah. I don't think no man will be
What
happy
if
with
they're
that.
asexual?
Sorry?
What if they're like asexual and just not, they're fine with or without sex?
Well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. After all, he had a partner, eh? And part of the process of having a partner is sexual relationship.
Indeed.
Maybe
Unless
die.
they both were asexual and didn't want it in the first place, in which case there's not a problem.
In that case, you won't go to the doctor. They will deal with that on their own.
Yeah.
When I saw the question, I was like, I think I know the answer to this, but let me answer it. Ask it anyway.
I want to throw.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was going to say I want to throw something else in the mix before we bring it home. Another taboo area that I noticed we haven't touched: vasectomy.
Oh, I was thinking the same thing just now. The snip.
The snip.
Yes, that's quite correct.
What's taboo with that?
Yeah.
Because it goes into that box of things that men don't talk about.
Oh, okay.
Well,
And
then
if you do it, you're somehow being less than a man if you do it.
Yeah.
And they feel they're going to mess with their erection when you go cutting the vas, because it's too close for comfort. The men will tell you. In fact, well, now it's catch up, but in the early days, most of the vasectomies I did in my office was expats. Because unfortunately, we had a lot of expats in the oil business at one time. And our young girls were very clever. They tried to get a blue eye baby. So the men were smart enough. They came and had the snips. So they ain't going to get no blue eye baby from these guys. But you see, there's two papers that came out in the international literature. One is actually published in the Wall Street Journal, that men who had vasectomies have a higher risk and incidence of prostate cancer. And that showed a whole damn pound of thing. Never been proven properly. But when that paper came out, men say, aha, I told you so.
Not for me.
So that put off a whole lot of men from vasectomies. But they're huge
Is it
vasectomies
true though?
all over the world.
Is
But
it
not
proven or?
It wasn't proven, never.
Okay.
Because prostate cancer risk increases as you get older. So does arthritis. So how can you prove that years after your vasectomy is not the aging process that caught up with you and you're blaming the vasectomy? There's no proof. You can't prove that.
Yeah.
So that kind of put a damper on men coming forward to vasectomies. Plus, you're operating too close to the nuts circumference. They don't like that. You might make a miss. You know, and they don't like you messing in that area at all. So most of the men in somebody just Lisa just sent their text that she's correct. They have no problem doing the snip, but Korean men not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're going to interfere with their manhood. Plus, you see that paper that Wall Street Journal talk about? You're going to get me prostate cancer. No way. Let she take the precaution, not me.
Not me.
That is
Wow.
the actual.
Yeah,
This is also something I've been thinking about recently, so I've got to...
But it is a question that I've actually asked a few people because I like to ask I have a lot of thoughts in my head and I'd like to share them. And I asked a few people, like, would you have the snip? And a lot of them like, no. And a lot of it boiled down to the fact, and I can understand where they're coming from. I'm not saying I agree with it or I would go down that same route, but it's a matter of, but what if we don't end up together long term and the new person I'm with wants to have a relationship and want to have a family, then I can contribute and stuff like that. And then you kind of feel like, kind of sound like an exit strategy there. Like you're kind of hoping that the relationship just fizzles out and then you can jump and go into the next one. Because in that way, it says to me, the children that you have already ain't coming with you. They're staying there. That's why you're not willing to tell a snip. Because I look at it and I think of all, like, I don't know why. I'm just thinking, why do men have multiple children? Like, yeah, you might have some strong genes in you that's worth passing on, but if you're not there for the child, then why put the child through that? That's not fair. So if you know that you're not going to be there for the child, if you get the snip, what is the problem? You know, let's assume all the professionals know what they're doing because we all get laser eye surgery. Not all of us, obviously, but we get laser eye surgery, we get glasses, we get all types of stuff. We wear Apple Watches, smart watches, all this stuff that we do, all manner of nastiness to our body, but we trust the process. We trust what's going on out there. But we're like, oh, snip, nah. In my head, it tells me you're going to miss, and then like, everything's just going to, from the waist down, it's not going to work no more. When have you ever read that? Never, nowhere. And people just have it in their head. They want to believe what they want to believe, and they'll make excuses, create wives' tales, and believe it. And the reason you can tell that is because, and I'm so annoyed by this. Sorry for going off a bit on this, but people who are strictly religious will follow the Bible to a T, but then will throw out a quick wives' tale in it just to make themselves feel better about the situation. But you just said this was the Bible, now you're saying this because they want to believe what they want to believe. So. The reality is I've got no problem in terms of having a vasectomy. I would like to think that I'm not going to have any other woman other than my wife. And if she, God forbid, she passes, then I'll have to deal with that. But I'm not looking to start up a next family with someone else. That is not my train of thought. But I wouldn't want her to go through something that I wouldn't want to put myself through because I love her as much as I love myself. If not a little bit more.
So is a vasectomy, are they reversible vasectomies or are they all irreversible?
Oh no, you can reverse a vasectomy. What makes a big difference is the time span between getting the vasectomy done and reversing it. Obviously, the longer you take to reverse it, the less likely you're going to have a good result. But they're all reversible.
And what would it mean to get a vasectomy though? What actually happening?
Simple procedure. Matt is actually going through the gymnastics over there. We get a local anesthetic. We feel the vas. It's very easy to feel the vas. There you go. And we give you a very fine needle. We stick you right where the vas is felt. We numb that area. We let the anesthetic work its way in. And there are several ways of doing it. There's a no scalpel technique where you literally hook the vas with a little hook and bring it out. And very easily you pull it out. And I take out a segment of the vas. I don't simply tie it, because it can self-recanalize. And you know what that means? That is trouble. So I take out a segment, suture both ends of the severed vas, and reverse them. So the chances of recanalization is almost zero. So don't come and tell me that your wife is pregnant for you again, because when I do your vasectomy, you can't get nobody pregnant.
Ain't happening.
I'm going to reverse it though. But the downside to that is if I have to reverse it, I curse myself. It is a very difficult procedure. I got to find those two sites, fresh them up, get them rejoined, and under the microscope, rejoin it. I always tell the patient, if you let me do a vasectomy, please don't let me reverse it. I do the worst job. You come after me to reverse it because I curse and I swear all the time.
But does it impact your erections, your ejaculation, anything like that?
Listen. Let me answer this. Let me answer this. Right?
I wasn't gonna say it, but
because I don't know, but I don't know about these other guys. But I had a vasectomy since 2009, I think.
yeah,
Long time ago.
long time ago.
And
You saying don't put the ice and thing.
listen. I guess the conversations leading up to that were very interesting between me and my wife. But in truth, what I said before about you have to be a unit. You've got to make those decisions collectively. Yeah. So I decided, look, this is what I'm going to do. And it was tough. But in truth, to answer your questions, no. I suppose my wife is in the chat. If she wants to tell you, she probably can. But, there's been no reduction in performance.
All right. That's what Didi asked you to know.
Precious?
Are you vintage? You getting
Sprankiest. Are you still sprankiest, Mark?
I'm good, man. I'm all right. I'm all right.
You say it was tough. What do you mean when you say it was tough?
Because I think you hear so much about, the way this conversation form itself was too close, gonna affect my manhood. All of those things bring themselves to bear on you when you're gonna make a decision like that, because you're gonna be thinking, what if this don't go right? And I think within me, I did have a little bit of a fear factor going into it, but I was able to overcome that and go and do what I felt was the right thing for my family at that time, and the right thing for me and my wife at that time. And we still live by it.
So sprankiest.
Still spankiest, man.
No, that's good. That's good.
But you have to.
Can I ask a question though? I do apologize because I've got the two doctors here that's asked a question. There's this really bizarre show here in the UK called Naked Attraction. I somehow found it because I was watching YouTube. Come on YouTube to turn my TV off, and it went to live TV. And I'm like, what am I watching here? What? To those of you that don't know, it's about people just exposing their body full naked, no prize money on the line, just to go on a date. Just dumb. But someone told me that there was someone who had a piercing on the tip of their yeah. Can that actually impact a man's in any way, shape, or form? Because I was then thinking, what if the man's trying to go toilet and he's trying to go through that bar? Because it's going to be like a sprinkler where it's
does not sound sprankiest to me at all.
Yeah. Make the conversation painful, man. Seriously. Just like the thought.
Because we're on that topic, I just thought it was appropriate to ask a question because you guys are so expert. If a guy has the head of his penis pierced, why would you do that in the first instance? And how can it impact performance in every aspect going forward? Because I'm thinking metal detectors and magnets are just like a no-go. Flies are just...
Well, first of all, I guess, is it even right or hygienic, Dr. Sal, to be doing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I see guys, very rarely though, putting rings in their foreskin. Diamond rings, by the way. So I guess they have the diamond touch when they go in there. Yeah. Small one, small bag.
Oh, shoot. I never thought of that.
What do you think about that, Matt?
Jokes.
I see it all, Matt.
Yeah.
I got used by doctor. I'll fly out there.
But it is. I wouldn't even try that one, man. I don't even know that one. I wouldn't even bother with that.
No, because let's be fair. Some people want to spice up the bedroom. They think them type of accessories will do such things. But then I
You
just
can't see the
struggle to get my
practicalities
head
of it.
around that. No, because like you said, cleaning it. How do you clean that? Because if you're urinating, let's be fair, that's gonna get a little bit. Yeah,
It's gonna be dirty.
what am I doing? Getting one of them Dettol wipes and start cleaning it because that's good. Like it's gonna sting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, pierced penises are out.
Yeah.
Clear.
Let me just part that. We can cut that out.
Yeah. Not in this
What do
living
you
room.
say, men? Things you don't talk about. Like I'm talking about.
We definitely don't talk about that, and it's okay.
Remember, it's a diamond ring.
Exactly. It's okay.
Diamond ring.
You heard it all here, folks.
Diamond touch is an
Indeed.
interesting theory.
No, I actually enjoyed this conversation today. I thought it was quite
Oh, yeah.
good, actually, to be honest with you, because I think, and it's funny because even Mark, Philip, some of these conversations we even never had really. You know, as Phil, you were saying, you know, Mark never really explained when.
Yeah, I thought it was
being
when
born
you
and
brought it up.
stuff.
I was like, that's a strange one because you know we were in a different country at that point in time when that happened. But I do remember visiting Mark and Sonia and Kyle when Kyle was quite young.
Yeah.
And you remember that we came and spent
do.
some time with y'all. And I'm pretty sure Nicole and Sonia chatted. I'm very sure they did. But me and
But
you,
Nicole
we just
know, but you don't.
yeah. I'm sure we just sort of said, okay, he's here, and we talked more about the future and
Yep.
careers and
man, all right, everything good? Yeah, man, everything
Yeah?
good, everything good.
Good.
Man.
Let me go.
You good?
But we never reflected on what you went through and so on.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And I saw
yeah.
Avril saying in the chat that men seem to talk a lot in social settings. That might be true, but I guess it's the depth of some of the conversation
Substance.
and
Substance.
the how personable we get in each other's lives regarding stuff. We talk about sports, we might talk about politics. You know, some men might be talking about women. But as far as what's going on in our lives, I would say sometimes, to be honest, with you, probably not as much. We probably talk more so now. Guys, you know, we getting older than we probably did when we were kind of coming through as we were growing older together, as we would say, and stuff. So we probably have a lot more of those conversations now. So it's interesting. You know, and I see the loads of ladies getting in the chat. See some guys in the chat there too. So
Yes,
thank you
that's
guys
good.
for joining. But that was
Yeah,
a
man.
real, you know, we ain't even talk about, you know, cuddling and all these kind of things we talk about. Well, man, what? 'Cause I think there's another part of conversation that men don't talk about, that kind of stuff. Because the
What
assumption
do you
is
mean
that
when you say cuddling? What are you talking about?
cuddling, man, affection.
Okay.
Look,
The man
Say-
want
say-
definition there, B.
since that last
Define
show,
cuddle.
we get all the
That
W
includes
thing.
massage as well.
Massage is good.
There you go. Because
Because
you know,
massages, there's massages and there's massages.
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, okay.
Of course you do. You got 2 kids.
We going there. But no, because the thing that one of the things again why probably men don't talk about the whole ED stuff and that kind of thing is because there's an assumption that men are always ready and that kind of stuff. So when that is not happening and men are always ready, then the assumption is something wrong. Something either wrong with you or something wrong with me or something wrong with that. And then, you know, so it's just that kind of stuff. I think I agree with Chesterfield. There's a part 2 to
think
go into
so.
a little bit more information.
And
Let
to
me
be honest,
comment on. Let me
if there's
comment on
something wrong.
Let me comment on Chesterfield there for a moment because he's a very interesting fella.
Okay.
Chesterfield phoned me from his hospital bed a few weeks ago, and I'm not disclosing any secrets.
Okay, I was gonna say don't disclose too much.
And he's a courageous guy because he was sharing to me his health journey, and that's why he's in the chat today asking all these questions about prostate cancer and so forth, because he recognizes the importance for us as men to get ourselves checked and do the right thing. So Chester, I just want to wish you all the best on the road to recovery.
Indeed,
Excellent.
Chester.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But he's right. We have to do more of this conversation because we can't cover off everything that we really want to talk about around the man in 2 hours.
No,
Too
I
much.
agree. But one that I can cover over there because Michael asked it, and I actually had it there as a question to ask, which is around circumcision. Is it needed? Should we be having it? You're bad if you don't have it. Can you have it when you're older? There's that kind of stuff. Yes, you can.
Well, yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, Dr. Lardor.
but I would defer to Lal on that. But no, circumcision, we know from religious reasons, people have circumcision for religious reasons. You can also have circumcision because of health reasons, or of what we call phimosis or paraphimosis, where the foreskin doesn't come back, or you get splitting and tearing of the circumcision. So you can have it as an adult. We have circumcision because of disease. If someone has penile cancer or cancer of the glands penis, then we have to do a circumcision in that situation. But no, you can have circumcision, no problem. I am not circumcised, I like to admit. And but our urologist could tell us more about if and when and how and we should get circumcised.
Mm-hmm.
Well, circumcision is known to protect you from penile cancer. That's been proven. Amongst the Jews who are circumcised at birth, there's hardly any case of penile cancer. So because of the hygiene involved with the foreskin being removed and the ease of washing the corona of the penis, you protect yourself from penile cancer. But it doesn't mean that you have to be circumcised to have a clean penis. If you have foreskin, pull it back and wash it and return it after.
Yeah.
There was also a theory that men who were circumcised probably will get less chance of getting HIV infections. I think that went too far. Certainly, the reason Adrian spoke about the phimosis, which is the narrowing, those are absolute indications. And there's no age limit. We do it under local anesthetic in the older guys. And I said the older guys, young men to older men, and the little kids, I prefer for them to have an anesthetic because it's painful for them. But under local anesthetic and the bigger guy, it's easy to do. It's a one hour procedure. You do it and you go home and done deal. So there's no hard and fast rules. It's a very straightforward thing. If you're doing it for social reasons, well, I don't agree with it just doing it for the sake of doing it. You have to have a reason, either because of your religion or because you're fearful of getting penile cancer, or you find yourself not being able to clean your area under the foreskin properly, therefore you need to deal with that. So I always feel that apart from your religious reason, you should have a good medical reason for doing any operation for that matter, including circumcision.
But if you have a circumcision as an adult, what happens if in the process of healing, if you're having an erection or something like that? Is it?
Sure.
We protect you from that. You're protected from that. We can give you something to prevent that from happening. So that's not a problem. But I want to mention though that we men need to, when we bathe our male children, bathe them properly and start stretching that foreskin and pulling it back. Because we know that I find that the mothers are scared of touching that penis of a little baby. I don't know why. And they then have problems when they get 2, 3, 4 years old and they can't get that penis back, that foreskin back, and then you get infections under the foreskin, and then they may be forced to have circumcision at that stage. So men, bathe the children too, bathe the boy children, and put back that foreskin. Don't let all that smegma collect under there.
So I have a 2-year-old.
It can cause problems later.
I got to do that.
But Adrian, you got to remind them that when they pull the foreskin back, sorry, Matt, you on the ball. When you pull back the foreskin and you wash, you need to return the foreskin. End up with paraphimosis, which is another problem by itself.
Yeah.
Pull back the foreskin and return it to its original place.
Go, Matt. You wanted to ask.
I have a 2-year-old son. Please explain to me what I'm meant to be doing, because I did not read this in any instruction manuals about what I've got to do with his PP. What am I doing now?
When you bathe him, and the foreskin needs to be retracted, cleaned, and then allow it to go back to its original position. Don't leave it back because that will cause more problems. You just do a little bit at a time until it stretches. If you do it too hard or too much, it
could hurt.
Cause some pain and maybe even bleeding. Sometimes they have to force it back for some children, and they hate me for life when we do it manually in the office. It's quite barbaric, actually. But yeah, I find that that's because we men don't bathe the children. So Matt, when you're bathing the children, just put it back gently, a little bit at a time,
Yeah.
and then it will come back. And of course, don't leave it back. Put it forward, and then as the child grows older, teach him how to do it.
To do it as well.
Yeah.
Even a little hint to the
can't do it
kids.
myself.
The kids that you're putting back to foreskin in the office, you don't use the local anesthetic gel. It's very effective,
Yeah,
Xylocaine gel.
lidocaine
Put some there and leave it there for a few minutes.
Yes.
And it makes life easier it's also a lubricant. Makes life easy for the kid and for you as well too.
Oh,
But that can be a nightmare trying to pull off foreskin in a kid who has screaming the head out of it, at the office. That xylocaine gel works like a charm, but you got to give it the time to work. 15 minutes or so, let it work. It works nice.
Whoa.
Yes.
Any other questions, guys? This has been a very good conversation. As everyone in the
Definitely.
comments are saying, we need a part 2.
Yeah,
We definitely need
yeah.
a part 2.
Katie's saying this is news to her. Neither did I, Matt. Women don't read manuals. So there he goes.
Then Philip, your next book.
Yeah, Philip should come out in his book.
Always looking for ideas. Always looking for ideas.
Philip, I'll loan you the picture of my penis for the book.
I would stick it
It
up.
can't be it's going to have to be an A4 size book now.
hardback book.
Hardback.
Once you don't put a caption, Lyle's penis. Once you don't do that.
Dedicated.
I have to make sure you let people know it's a PhD.
Oh, y'all got jokes. The pun's coming up. Look, I really, really, really enjoy this conversation. Thank you guys for coming, and the guys in the audience as well. Thank you guys for being there. I saw the chats there going a bit crazy there, and everyone having questions and comments and what's not. Thank you for staying with us for the better part of 2.5 hours almost.
Yeah.
As we just talk about the things that men don't talk about and the things that we want to talk about as well. Gotta be a part 2, guys. What y'all think?
Yes.
Gotta be a part 2. But everyone in the comments, thank you so much for being with us as well. Hit share and just get as many people to watch as well. Phil, anything parting words before the guys leave?
The only parting word I have is every dad has bared his soul, and they're talking to you, only you. This is a personal, extremely intimate conversation. The dad
In the
book.
book.
Yeah.
We figured so. Mark.
I just want to say, guys, be courageous. Just be courageous. Being a dad, being a man, we carry a lot. There's a lot of expectation. Be courageous.
Indeed. And we're going to leave some words for our guests as well. Matt? Any final words you want to say about men talking?
Thank you very much for the invite. Thank you very much to the 2 doctors. If I could afford a plane ticket and come out to see you guys and get tested and whatnot. Actually, one of you, because one of you use a finger too much. But other than that, you guys have been amazing. I've absolutely enjoyed it. I've learnt loads, and I just love what you guys are doing. The space you've created is just wholesome, fun. Yes, there are some challenging questions asked by Andre unnecessarily, but I like the way you do it, and it's just much needed. It's lighthearted, it's fun, and everyone loves a Bayesian accent, so why not keep it up?
Dr. Lord.
Yes, thank you very much for having me again. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and look after your health. Look after your health, man. Don't delay it. Don't be scared. Just do it. If you got to get the finger put in there, just get it done. At least once a year. I fed up. You got to get yours done. It's too many years since you've had it.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's protect our species. We need to keep our men healthy.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And Dr. So?
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it just as much as you guys did. And I want to make you a free offer here. Anytime any of you return to visit your homeland, come across, I'll do a free rectal exam for you guys. No charge.
Might take you up on that.
An offer you can't turn down.
No.
I'm there.
I'm sure I can find a way
definitely
of
will do
turning
that.
that down.
Well,
Not at all. But look, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you guys in the living room. Thank you a lot. Thank you so
Incredible.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good conversation, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
enjoy having that conversation.
Love
You know,
it.
we gotta do that more often. Just have men in talking about, things that we don't talk about necessarily, but decide to talk about in front of the internet.
Absolutely. You know, there are many times that people have said to us with what we set up here, we need women sort of being part of that, and we do have a lot of women as guests on. Then I was thinking there are loads of all-female chat shows in the UK and the
Nice.
US and so on as well, and there's not a lot of all-male chat shows. And as somebody said there, men tend to talk a lot in the social. You know, once the space becomes comfortable and safe, then men will start to talk. And that's probably it. We're not creating the spaces. To
No,
have
I
those
agree. I
conversations.
agree. And there are some men's shows, but they're speaking about other things. So they're speaking about sports. So you might find a men's show on sports. You'll
That's true,
find
it's
a
Top
men's
Gear.
show on music. You'll find a men's show
Yeah.
on cars.
Cars.
Whereas you find a ton of ladies shows or women's shows on
About
relational
women.
stuff.
Yeah.
On stuff that
relational,
impact
yeah, that's
women,
right.
and they're speaking openly and free about stuff that impacts them. And we doing our show, we got to create the space amongst for men to talk as well. So I'm glad that we did that. I think that was really good.
I really love it. I really love that we made time to have those really personable conversations, And I think there's a challenge for the three of us with
Indeed.
how we go deeper, as friends. And
Don't say deeper when you're referring to when we just talk about that. That is
I know
That's
what
messy ahead.
I know what you meant, Mark.
that's messy ahead.
yeah, I'm glad you did. Chris.
Yeah.
Language. Just
Thanos.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But in all seriousness, indeed. Yeah.
No. Yeah,
We have to
No, I
set that
agree.
example
that's
for
one of
our
my
sons as well.
takeaways from today.
No, I 100% agree with that. And this year, as I tell y'all guys, is my year I can do my prostate check. I got to even think vasectomy and that kind of stuff now. You got to be willing to have these conversations. So, have a chat. So I think it's good. So look, I had a really, really, really good conversation. And to everyone who are in the audience, thank you so much for staying with us for, as I said, the better part of 2.5 hours. We hope you found it informative. Hope you found it entertaining as well. As we always say, hit share, because if you liked it, chances are people in your network will like the conversation as well and can benefit from the conversation, especially this one. So tag about 10 men in the comments that and you tell them you need to listen to this, as well as tag some women as well and tell them, ladies, my friends, y'all need to listen to this because this is what men thinking about and this is some of the things that they're going through. So feel free to do that. Thank you so much. Philip's book is out, or not Philip's book, but the book that Philip has contributed to is out. Hold it up there, Phil. As we wouldn't have guessed from this show that he was part of
Chapter
it.
9. Chapter 9.
Chapter 9 is Phil. That's called Dad. It's on Amazon, all over the place, right? US, UK, anywhere you want.
Yeah, you'll find it.
Waterstones,
And also in a lot of bookstores as well.
a lot of bookstores.
If you go to
probably Barnes and Nobles and
wearedad.co, wearedad.co.uk. If you go there,
wearedad.co.uk.
you'll find all the places.
Get it. It's going to be a fantastic read. Mine will be coming next week, and I will be reading that for sure. So do that. Look, to all the dads who are in the audience, happy Father's Day. Enjoy the rest of your day, your evening, wherever you are. Until next time, we'll see you guys there.
Take care.
That was a good conversation.
Yeah. Very
That
good.
was good. Enjoy that. 100%. 100%. Enjoy that conversation.